Yes. Again, the discussion about, I take the view that clearly public participation was entered into, and that...
I remember the Kenya Power MD talking about this, and saying one of the things that then would need to happen is because of cash issues. You see, KETRACO is not even a private entity; it's government, fully government.
It is government,
and it's the one that is supposed to do transmission lines. So when there's issues of cash in government, then KETRACO does not have money to actually develop more transmission lines and substations, which means that our grid is still very, very much congested.
Yes.
Now, he was proposing that actually let it go into PPP. So somebody can put up a transmission line. So the entire thing is mapped. And the government says we have this and those transmission lines to be taken up by PPP. City comes, says, I want to bid and do this transmission line from this area to the other. And I'll put substations as required, this and that. And then the transmission fee will be going to them to recover their investment.
Makes perfect sense. However, that KETRACO depends on government funding is a little interesting. This money that Kenya Power collects, however much it is, it's government money.
No, it's Kenya Power money.
All right, see, and yet KETRACO is government. So we have a problem. Now, but KETRACO helps Kenya Power increase their business. Is it not so?
True.
So what arrangement did they have so that Kenya Power's benefit is also KETRACO's benefit?
Kenya Power pays KETRACO.
Yes, so KETRACO. So does KETRACO? What's KETRACO's excuse?
So KETRACO, the amount of money that they are paid is not sufficient to put up billion shilling, multi-billion shilling investments into transmission.
That's what they say. I would like to see the evidence of that.
So they need the cash. You need proper heavy cash injection to say, all right.
Cash infusion, injection.
Yeah.
I understand all that, but what I'd like to see...
Because if Kenya Power is not making sufficient profit, and you see Kenya Power is a listed company.
Kabisa listed.
So the only money that would be going to KETRACO would be the dividend that goes to government from Kenya Power. The rest of the dividend comes to us, other shareholders.
As like ourselves.
Yes, like ourselves.
But I agree completely. I have no problem with shareholding money.
KenGen is the other one. It's generating.
And it makes money.
And it's making money, right?
It's making money.
It's getting paid by Kenya Power.
So everybody's making money except KETRACO.
Even KETRACO is making money. It's just that it doesn't have enough money to do this.
That's the point. I don't understand this because everything is money. Then when it comes to that, suddenly they don't have enough money. The PPP idea is excellent. It expands many things. But this story of there isn't enough money, you hear it from counties, you hear it from whom? No. There has to be evidence that this money that they receive, whatever amount it is really insufficient. Yes. They've said it's insufficient. There's proof needed to determine that it is actually insufficient. Shinikweli? Okay? Hotel constructor Akon to raise 2.8 for growth. Okay? This is student developer Akon Holdings to raise a total of, they're raising it, 2.8 in new capital for its development investment in real estate investments. Blah, 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 blah. Good for you.
Hotel or hostel?
Hostel. Those are
the guys who do the Kwetu homes.
Yes, the ones with the Kwetu homes. Interesting, those ones. Now, something is happening in the auto industry. There is a Mobius Motor Kenya. Kenyan-owned, Kenyan. They're shutting down. Pesa kuna. They've had 13 years, rising debts, rising this and the other. They are shutting down. Okay?
Wow.
Right. Bank taps 4 trillion shillings in CBK support on cash crunch. This is bang in the middle of the papers. Lenders took another 81 billion via daily lending facilities. Figures surpass total of 2023 of 2.9 trillion. Let me just read it. Commercial banks have raised their reliance on the Central Bank of Kenya for liquidity support this year as the sector pays the price for reduced government payments and high interest rates that have made it expensive to mobilize deposits from customers. That is the reason why they have to go to Central Bank of
Kenya.
Yes.
Kuchukua mkopo.
Yeah,
kufuliza.
Yes, the bank. That is their banker.
Yeah.
Central Bank is a banker for banks.
Wanaenda kufuliza.
Yes.
It is 6:37. 6 plus 5 is?
11.
It's 11:37 in Beijing, China. Gazeti imetoka China imefika hapa tuko nayo kwa studio.
Imeiko hapa na tunaiona.
The newspaper for Wednesday, August 7th from China. China Daily, the global edition, is here. China is a big country. Their paper is also a huge paper.
So it's a big, that one is
that paper, my friend.
Mzuri, it's nice and big.
How do you even hold this paper?
With both your hands.
Hey.
But it's good for reading and for covering your face. I can't even see you, Eric.
The headline in the China Daily, Hong Kong beefs up status as financial hub. BRICS should bridge digital divide among member states. China's anti-doping watchdog urges US to stop creating false narratives. The China Anti-Doping Agency urged the US on Tuesday to stop creating false narratives, politicizing anti-doping cases and manipulating public perception, and drop double standards when dealing with the anti-doping cases of athletes from the US and other countries, including China. They're saying, you guys, when it comes to your own athletes, you apply bar A. When it comes to other countries, you apply bar B. When it comes to even China, Kwanzaa, you apply bar D. Yeah, so that is... this one, you start reading a story on the front page of the China Daily, you finish it on the front page of the China Daily.
Yeah, there's nothing like go to page 4.
And go to page 4.
Papo.
Yeah, it's a big one. Let's take a look at traffic and then we'll look at those stories in greater detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yeah. It's doing like that, the thing that it normally does on Haile Selassie Avenue around Wakulima Market. It's moving along smoothly everywhere else. North Airport Road is okay. The City Cabanas is okay. Maradaima is fine. Jogoo Road is okay today. Just the usual issues at Makongeni, Makadara. Manyanja Road is alright. Thika Superhighway, it's actually not looking bad. You get all the way to Muthaiga. Near the Muthaiga Square, you find the traffic coming in from Kiambu, and that's it. And then after that, you get to the tunnel. The Wangari Maathai Road, they're all clear. Muranga Road is all clear. Langata Road is good. Ngong Road is good. So this is the best time to leave the house. Get out and go.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so let's look at the stories in detail. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with a story that I actually saw in the Standard. You know, when earlier on in the morning you were talking about the vetting and the wealth related to the vetters, it piqued my interest. Because there was an article I was reading in the Standard, timing, luck or talent, what makes a billionaire? Okay, and this article goes on to detail certain things about the people we refer to as billionaires. Okay, first of all, the country that has the most billionaires, all right, etc., etc., and then looking at the richest people on the planet and comparing them with those who are not. For instance, the US has 813 billionaires. Okay. China, including Hong Kong, has 473. India is third. It has 200. Okay?
Billionaires. Those are dollar billionaires.
Those are dollar billionaires. Dollar. Okay. Billionaires. Okay? But of interest, you will find, for instance, that the guy who owns Google, okay, the co-founder is called Sergey Brin. His money worth proper. Is 17.8 trillion Kenyan shillings.
17 trillion shillings.
Yes. Now, the company he owns is worth around 30 trillion shillings. But what is of interest, when you compare this with people who have not so much, just nine of the world's richest people are richer than 4 billion of the world's poorer people.
Wow. 9 of the richest are richer than 4 billion.
9, 81. I was doing my own maths.
Oh, 81.
Yes.
81 of the richest.
Yes.
Combined wealth, or each of them is richer?
When you combine their wealth, It has more money than if you combine 4 billion people on this planet.
Bas.
Yes.
Bas.
Now, Oxfam had something to say about this. They say that the very existence of boom billionaires and record profits, while most people face austerity, rising poverty, and a cost of living crisis, is evidence of an economic system that fails to deliver for humanity. So, even as we look at and as we hear of politicians who tell us how they've made money selling chicken eggs, and other aviary products, etc., 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 now, this is against a backdrop of people in this country who cannot earn 6,000 shillings a month. That is a comparison I wanted to bring to the fore. But now back to the star. There is a story I promised to tell you about the 352 bank accounts. It's not the first time we're hearing of accounts everywhere, and insufficient explanation as to how.
Kenneth Lusaka as governor.
Yes. It has emerged. One person is a signatory to more than 70 accounts. Governor defends opening them.
Okay.
If you're the officer in charge, you can be in charge. Anyway, a Senate panel on Monday put Bungoma Governor Kenneth Lusaka on the spot over some 352 bank accounts operated by his administration. It emerged that out of the accounts, a county official they even identified the person as Karen Aliaka, operating with the name Makona, is a signatory to 70 accounts. Okay? The revelations emerged during the questioning of Lusaka over the mind-boggling number of accounts operated by the county governments, most of them held at commercial banks. The panel chaired, where else could they be held if not at commercial banks? The panel chaired by Wajir Senator Sheikh Abbas put Lusaka to task to explain the rationale for operating such a high number of accounts. Did you follow the law in opening the accounts? Marsabit Senator Mohammed Chute posed. Lusaka defended the account, saying his administration is operating 10 public fund accounts, 9 special purpose accounts, and a project management account. The county is also operating 9 sub-county impress accounts, 2 Mbaga, I don't know what this is, Mabanga operations account, and 19 level 4 and 5 hospital accounts. There are also 4 own source revenue collection accounts, 152 vocational training centers accounts, 114 health facility and dispensary accounts. According to Lusaka, Bungoma County was already operating 146 bank accounts before the operationalization of the Public Finance Management County Government Regulations of 2015. So he has said, if you look at the functions of the county and you itemize them, you will find that each of those units necessary. And I agree with him. I agree.
Each health facility needs its own bank account.
Yes, so you know exactly how they're doing.
Each TVET needs its own vocational training.
Yes,
needs its own account.
I agree with them completely, because
it's receiving school fees. It's receiving money from the county.
Yes, because if you commingle these funds, then you don't really have a very clear idea of who has what and who is making what and so forth.
So what do the other counties then do? Are the other counties also doing the same thing? Maybe the other counties have fewer health facilities or fewer TVETs. That's why they have fewer accounts, because 350, no one else comes close.
No. Perhaps these guys are more diligent. Perhaps they've decided they're not commingling funds.
But this matter was raised, was it by the Auditor General or the Controller of Budgets?
It was raised by both.
And why were they raising it? They were raising it because of finding there was an anomaly here. I mean, why have so many accounts?
Yes, the anomaly in the accounts was this. When you find so many accounts, there was a question of how do you manage all these accounts? That's number one. Okay? And is it necessary, if it's TVETs, can you not itemize them within the bank? Because there's a way in which you can segregate it in the bank. It's one account, but there's A, B, C, D. You can do that. Okay? Why must they be each individual account?
Because each has its own signatory.
Yes. Each actually has its own signatory. And by the way, they just mentioned TVETs. Schools are the same. Schools will have their... So the number of schools that you have can be represented by the number of accounts that you have.
So that's why I ask.
Yes.
Number one, what do the PFM regulations of 2015 that Lusaka is quoting, what do they say? And number two, what do the other counties do?
And why is it
Because
that
you
other
see,
counties have
other counties
fewer?
have health facilities.
They have everything.
Other counties have vocational training centers.
Yes.
Other counties have revenue collection and all those other guacamakamago things that he's talking about.
Yes.
So how come they don't have as many accounts?
That is an interesting question, because that is what now somebody would need to explain, how it is that following these regulations of the county government regulations of 2015, how it is that one county has more. Are we saying that one county actually has more departments, has more functioning departments than the others? I mean, what are they saying? This particular story does not explain what you have asked.
I wonder whether the question was put to him and what the Senate committee
if you ask
come
me,
up with.
this article is very short. I don't think it does justice to what actually went.
What actually went on.
I don't think so. I think many more questions were asked and many more responses were given. Lusaka is a two-term governor. This is the second time he understands this thing, and he has worked in government.
But he's always there in the headlines on these issues. Remember the wheelbarrows?
No, it was him.
The non-carcinogenic wheelbarrows.
It was him.
It was Ken Lusaka.
It was him.
And according to him then, it was a matter of the public not understanding these issues.
Yeah, that these motorized wheelbarrows sometimes can be a little more expensive.
You know, the money. It was the public not understanding, and he came to try to explain. This time again, it's the public not understanding, even the controller of budget or the auditor general not understanding 350 bank accounts. 52. Also, it's the public not understanding why they've spent tens of millions of shillings on buying flowers and media ahead of the celebration.
Oh, it is. Yeah, they spent
same
a
county.
very pretty bundle when it came to that one.
Yeah.
It is same Lusaka.
Same Lusaka.
Yeah, but then the question is, when all these questions are asked and the responses are inadequate, the guy just goes back to his job and waits for another time to be called to answer more questions. So,
as opposed to doing what?
I mean, what is the purpose of all these questions if there's nothing that happens after the question? Okay, you've asked, answered, reported, and then...
So he comes to clarify.
He has clarified. So the audit query has been responded to, and then...
Bas.
The question I'm actually asking you.
I know.
Yes, you do know.
I know.
This story of ending Kenya Power's monopoly. That story.
I will read it.
This is the story on page 6 of the CETA. Okay? Lawmakers step up calls to split Kenya Power and its monopoly. All right? Lawmakers want Kenya Power to split into independent regional units with autonomous managing directors and budgets to help improve efficiency. Okay? Members of the Energy Committee of the National Assembly want the firm divided along the 8 provinces that existed before the current constitution.
So it will no longer be Kenya Power.
No.
Each of them will be whatever.
They'll have their own unit of Kenya Power.
Rift Valley Power Services.
Yes.
Central Kenya Power Services.
Like that.
It's along the lines of the former provinces, eh?
Something like that.
Coast Power Distribution Company.
Yes.
Okay.
The committee led by Mwale MP Vincent Musyoka urged Kenya Power's top guns who appeared before it yesterday to consider the proposal, saying the same is applied in Ghana. I don't think that there should be a problem having many CEOs managing issues of electricity across the country, Musyoka said at the meeting, which was also attended by Energy PS Alex Washira. In Ghana, there are 3 power utility firms, each for the northern and southern regions, and one solely handling connectivity to the industries. The committee said the proposal was also in consideration, adding that a draft law is in the works to shed some roles from the ambit of Kenya Power. We will need a law change to make this happen. We are slowly getting to that. That is splitting PLC. It's not for Kenya Power to decide on the level of responsibility bestowed on the unit. Okay. In theory, it sounds good, does it not? Yes. Sounds very good.
I don't know. In theory, again, like you say, sounds very good. I'm looking for updates on what's happening in the UK. So should I look for BBC News World or BBC News UK? Let's go to the BBC News UK. Because we've seen the kind of violence that coming out of there. And tuko tu mambo ya Olympics bwana.
Olympics kila mahali.
Yeah, this is story on the Olympics. You know, yesterday the Cobra was meeting.
What did Cobra decide?
I don't know, man. No update there, but there was an update. There were updates coming from the Kenyan High Commission in London, which was urging caution to Kenyans who are in the UK and telling them,
please be careful.
Please be very careful. Make sure that if you have not registered with the embassy, please make sure that you register with the embassy as soon as possible, so we can be giving you direct updates, so you know then that this is what is happening around you. And should you need any kind of support, then we also in hand to come and support you. Okay? So because there's a story here in the People Daily which says Kenyans living in the UK were yesterday placed on high alert following the escalation of violence targeting migrant communities. The government at the same time moved to evacuate Kenyans living in Lebanon after the war in the Middle East appeared to get out of hand, with Iran declaring severe retaliation against Israel following the death of Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, Iran last week. Haniyeh was in Tehran for Masoud Pezeshkian's inauguration as Iran's new president. Yesterday, the Kenyan mission in London issued an advisory to its citizens in the UK to exercise caution and adhere to local government directives amid a wave of social unrest sweeping across multiple cities, mainly targeting immigrants and Muslims. Now, I do not know why this story is taking so long to basically just call it racial attacks and xenophobic attacks.
But what else could it possibly be?
Yeah, they're calling it far right. They're far right attacks. What is far right extremism?
It's racism.
Call it what it is, man. It's just these are just xenophobic attacks. They're saying you don't belong here, get out. They're targeting migrants, the far right. Okay. So, Kenyans can contact the High Commission through info@kenyahighcommission.org.uk or immigration@kenyahighcom.org.uk, or they can call a certain number that's been given there. If you go to those to send an email there, or you go to the X handles of the High Commission, you'll find a lot more information. And this is a message to all our brothers and sisters in the UK. Be careful. The issue again is Lebanon. The State Department for Diaspora Affairs issued that alert and said, if you're in Lebanon and you wish to come home, please get in touch. We'll take you home. Things are escalating.
No, they've already escalated, and it looks like they're going to continue escalating.
Yep.
Why haven't they raised that same issue with Kenyans in Bangladesh?
Those ones are not yet escalating.
Them, they're not worried about us. They're worried about their own problems.
Those ones,
they're very clear about the people they don't want.
Yeah,
and it's their own leaders.
Yeah. It appears that those ones are not really handling big manenos. But I'm sure the relevant High Commission is monitoring that. There's something that's been happening around Nairobi lately, which is a return of the fires, right?
In this very cold... Had they not?
Yeah. Now fires are back. Property worth millions of shillings was razed down at Mukuru Kwanjenga slum just days after another fire killed 4 at Toy Market. The fire near the Mwindi Mweusi supermarket is suspected to have been caused by a power fault, burning 7 shops and the PAG Quarry Church. No one was injured in the yesterday morning incident. One person says here, I was called by the church guard at around 12 a.m. that there is a fire. I ran there, informed the local administration as people continue to put off the fire. This is according to Eric Ambuche, founder of Slum Outreach Program. It's unfortunate that those who had come to help looted. The firefighters from the Nairobi City County took about 2 hours to come. 2 hours from wherever they were coming from. Now, if you're in Mukuru Kwanjenga, there is a fire station, of course, in the CBD. There are other fire stations nearby. There's one on Outer Ring, Kangundo Road Junction. Why would it take them 2 hours, man? Residents called for reclamation of public land near AA police station reserved for fire station. Reverend Milton Mudegu of PAG said the church, which has been there for nearly 20 years, lost property worth around 6 million shillings. On Saturday morning, 4 people died and at least 2,000 traders were left counting losses. after a toy market in Kibra was destroyed. According to the market chairman, Kenneth Njomba, the case may have been arson. Governor Johnson Sakaja had to flee for his life after the crowd at the scene stoned him. He said they had received 5 fire incidents from Kayole next to Naivas, Metro next to TRM, Umoja 2 market sheds next to the Chief's camp, Madare next to the Air Force, Bondeni in Kibra, and Kibondeni in Naivasha Road. The incidents bring to memory various similar incidents and the county government's inability to handle disasters.
Remember, we even had a fire at the airport, remember?
Yeah.
And that one was a big fire. It helped us. It helped us. Did you hear that Freudian slip? Well, we had to rebuild the airport again. And somehow, the consistent story in this fire is not just a fire, but the inability of those tasked with dealing with the fires to actually
to be there on time.
Yes. That seems to be the consistent thread in any story in this country that refers to fires.
But remember when we hosted here the CEO in charge of emergencies, and he even followed up with saying, like, every day the number of fire incidents that they have to deal with, they deal with more than 8 fire incidents every day.
Yes.
Now imagine you've been called to a small fire somewhere else, and then you're told toy market is on fire. The people that you are rescuing in that small fire will not take it kindly when you tell them kuna moto ingine kubwa zaidi.
They're not concerned about that fire.
Yeah.
They're concerned about their fire.
About their fire.
But does not all beg the question then, how exactly have we structured and organized our response to fires?
That's where the big question is.
Okay.
That's where the big question is.
Because by now we must have documented and known the areas that are prone to such fires, isn't it?
And put proper adequate resources,
Yes.
and even the decentralized fire stations. So you know that in this area, particularly these markets, have a fire nearby. In the slum areas, because we know that they are prone to fires, have a fire station nearby, and make sure that it's always ready to respond.
You know, our fire stations look like museums. When you look at them, the dilapidated vehicles, the God knows what. And the one thing that you clearly see is that should there be a serious fire, they will not be able to contain it.
We'll deal with it nicely. Well, it's really, really sad. I feel really sad for the traders. Somebody I saw in the news, a woman saying that, she lost all her wares in the Nakuru slum. And she was like, that is all I had. And she started crying. And you could imagine the pain and how far back she's been thrown. Had no insurance or anything. News time, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto is expected to begin his 3-day development tour of the Mount Kenya region today. The visit, which comes at a time when his deputy Rigathi Gachagua continues to cry foul over supposed humiliation from the president's aides, will start in Embu before he moves to Murang'a on Friday and end in Kirinyaga on Saturday. The visit also comes at a time when there are claims of a plot to impeach Gachagua. Analysts say Ruto could be seeking to test the waters on how deep his deputy has been able to pacify his backyard. On Sunday, Gachagua addressed the region on vernacular radio stations, painting a picture of a community targeted by the Kenya Kwanza administration, saying he's been humiliated and labelled a tribal bigot for pushing for their interests. Meanwhile, Kenya leader Martha Karua has termed as a distraction the impeachment motion believed to be in the works against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Speaking on X, Karua also dismissed claims that the anti-government protests are sponsored. She also called on President Ruto to resign, saying that Kenyans have lost faith in his leadership.
What is happening? The core Ruto must go. Ruto is the head of government. So his name is the one that is on the front. And he is at the forefront. But the way I understand it is that mandate has been withdrawn from the entire government. It's Ruto and his entire complement. And Kenyans want a fresh start. People have spoken. They have taken their sovereignty and exercised it directly, withdrawing mandate from Ruto.
The family of a Sunday school teacher who was shot dead outside Parliament during the House takeover by anti-government protesters in June has sued the government, seeking prosecution of the officers who were deployed to quell the protests. Photos circulated online showed David Chege's body lying outside Parliament with 4 other protesters holding a flag. The late Chege's family, in a case filed before High Court Judge Florence Muchemi, also wants compensation from the government, citing violation of his right to life. The family lawyer, Dudley Ochieng, told the court that despite the government being aware of who was commanding the police who had been deployed to Parliament and a formal murder complaint lodged, his killer is still working as an officer. And as the country waits for the Nane Nane March tomorrow, there's anxiety in Kapsabet town a day after it was thrown into chaos after an armed gang sought to disrupt planned protests. The gang, armed with long wooden sticks, helmets and masks covering their faces, moved about the town to deter a section of residents who had planned to take to the streets in protest against the Nandi County government, which they claim has not delivered. These people were there.
Kila mtu ako na haki ya kutembea hapa Nandi County, lakini hooligans around town wenye wamebeba marungu, wamebeba silaha, OCS wa Kapsabet anafanya nini? Iko haki gani kubeba rungu, kubeba silaha katikati ya town? Hii town hakuna kazi. Hii town ukiona ni chafu.
Na mask na yellow na helmet. Hiyo helmet ni nini? Kama unataka kusolve a problem, ita watu kaa nao chini. Hao watu si wa huku. Ametoa watu Tindret, watu wengine Nandils, Langas.
But the gang members claimed that they were business persons and were moving about the town to protect their businesses from looters.
Wale watu walikuwa na helmets na kibini ya chembe ni wale wana biashara walijitokeza wakasema tujunge biashara zetu isiharibiwe na wale watu wamejipanga kuja haribu biashara zao. So wale watu hawakuwa na shida yote, walikuwa wanachunga tu biashara zao, hawakuwa wanapika mtu, walikuwa watu wazalendo. Tunataka tuseme kwamba sisi kama wana boda boda tunahakikisha kwamba tunalinda serikali ambayo iko kwa uongozi kwa muda uliopewa. So tunahakikisha governor wetu anafanya kazi yake.
After 2 days of lengthy negotiations in Doha, Hamas has named Yahya Sinwar as its new overall chief, replacing Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran last week. Since 2017, Sinwar has served as the group's leader inside the Gaza Strip. He'll now become leader of its political wing. This comes at a moment of soaring tensions in the Middle East as Iran and its allies threaten retaliation for the killing of Haniyeh, which they blame on Israel. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Hiya, it's still looking okay this Wednesday morning coming towards town. Not bad on Najago Road, is just still moving that area. Thika Superhighway is stretching just up to Mathare now. If you look at Mombasa Road is all good coming towards town. North Airport Road is only getting busier as you head towards the interchange into Mombasa Road. That's where it gets busy. But then Imara is moving. Outer Ring Road is busy at the North Airport Road junction. Other roads are looking okay. Langata Road is fine. Ngong Road is fine heading towards town. Let's see how they'll be looking like in about half an hour.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room the only way to start your day.
It is 7 minutes after 7. How are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room, having the pulse of the nation and the conscience of the country as well. Karibu sana to SpiceFM, KTN News, KTN Home, YouTube, Facebook, X, TikTok, Radio Garden, wherever you are, whether you're in Nairobi, around the country, or outside of the country, in Africa, or any other part of the world. We are glad that you are tuned in. Our next conversation is going to look at what's scheduled to happen tomorrow. So the Gen Z have said, okay, we're coming back onto the streets on the 8th of August. So the last one was Saba Saba. Now it's Nane Nane. And tomorrow is Nane Nane. Today, though, let's first of all begin by acknowledging and appreciating that today is the 7th of August, and we mark what happened on the 7th of August in 1998 when the bomb blast took place in the center of Nairobi. And that was one time when people were just shocked and ushered into this wave of global terrorism. Many people died, many people lost their lives in your city.
And many lives were changed forever. And even the memory of it is something that should remind us of what it is that happens when one loses touch with the reality for a single second. Intelligence was received, it was communicated, it was not heeded.
Yep. That's the story in the nation today. That Brigadier Boynet and then NSIS had actually sent an urgent telegram to the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi 10 days before the bomb blast.
10 days.
Yeah, and said something is afoot.
And by that time, the embassy was bang in the middle of town, actually. Yes.
Question that one would ask, though, is, okay, the National Intelligence Service is giving this brief to the U.S. Embassy. It should also have given a brief to the country's security system. What did the country's security system do to thwart this, to try and avert it? The U.S. Embassy would only deal with the U.S. Embassy compound.
The problem with the learning curve that we have, or the learning process, somehow it's a tragedy that awakens people to the reality of what they ought to have done.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
It was only after 9/11 that the U.S. government, for instance, decided to take certain precautions, and the intelligence and the security apparatus now beefed up the way they do things, and they revolutionized even the way they looked at intelligence. Prior to that, one could argue they had seen no need to do that, isn't it? We'd never had a bomb attack in this country. Oh, wait.
Well, there was one at the Norfolk.
There was one at the Norfolk, and there was one even at OTC.
OTC, yes.
Yes. But not of this magnitude.
Yeah. So, tomorrow, Nane Nane. If the youth and others who are supporting the youth at heart, decide to come out for this round of demonstrations, the police have said they're adequately prepared.
What are they prepared for exactly?
That's the thing. What are we likely to see? How safe are the protesters who intend to come out tomorrow? If intelligence is there that maybe there'll be infiltration, what are the intelligence and the security agencies doing to make sure that it's not infiltrated, that it remains peaceful, and that the peaceful protesters are protected? That's why we've invited Grace Wangeshi. She is the Executive Director of the Independent Medical Legal Unit. Grace, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Karibu to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yes, thank you.
You're looking good. You're looking well. And that goes into the conversation that I wanted to start with you. This is about medical health checkups.
Yeah.
Annual health checkups. Yeah. Do you follow those ones religiously?
Yes, I do.
Every year, right? You try as much as possible.
I need to do better.
Yes. That's the message that the Aga Khan University Hospital is actually saying. They're saying, let's all do better. Let's make sure that we plan and schedule regular medical checkups.
Yes, we should.
They say for as low as 9,950, you can walk to any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic and you say, I want a comprehensive medical checkup, and they will do it. With just checking and seeing that you're okay. And if you're not okay, then you start getting straight into how to get better. And also you're advised. So what do? This is let's look at your diet. Let's look at your exercise regimen. Let's look at the kind of lifestyle that you're leading. You sit for too long. you talk too much. Those kind of things. Hii mdomo yako. So 9,950. Message home, Aga Khan University Hospital. There is one, I'm sure where you live, not far, you will find an Aga Khan University Hospital Center facility. So you don't have to go to Limuru Road. You can go to the one closer to you.
Great offer.
Okay. Now, CT will give you the day's proverb. This week, last week, and next week, it's proverbs from landlocked countries of Africa. You're trying to think of which landlocked country you know. Not Uganda, which other one?
There are many. Let me hear what surprise he has for me.
Okay.
That is a lesson in how to avoid answering a question.
We'll be back.
We will be back. We have a whole hour here.
I can't wait.
Okay. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Botswana. Okay? Mm-hmm. An extremely interesting country. Okay? Have a population of 2.4 million, believe it or not. 70% of the country is desert. Amazing. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Don't laugh at the fallen.
Yes.
For the slippery path is still ahead.
Interesting. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I guess it could speak to a lot of things.
Yes.
One is that you're not too far off as well. If you see your neighbor, somebody going through a tough time, don't sit and enjoy it and watch from afar and think that it will not, that someday you'll not get into a situation where you will need somebody to help you out. So I think it just reminds us that we need to be watchful of each other, to be empathetic, and not just, think that things are too far off from you. The you and us. I guess for me, that would be the simple and easy. You versus. So you're always pointing fingers. You're always thinking, they've gone off the road. Yeah.
But also remember, you.
Yes.
Look at yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Imlu, I'm sure, has been very busy and active during this past couple of weeks since the Gen Z protests began. We have seen arrests. We have seen unfortunate incidences of death and injury to people. We have seen reports from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights detailing what they have recorded as injuries, as deaths, as arrests, as abductions. Reports that have been disputed by none other than the president himself, saying these people, sometimes they are very over generous with their numbers. From your own independent side, what reports do you have? What are the numbers that you have of the dead, the injured, the arrests, the abductions?
Thank you very much for that question, and a good place to begin. Let me say that, number one, we are called the Independent Medical Legal Unit for a reason. One, the independent means that we are completely independent. And so you're right that we verify our information. We have tools that we utilize to verify that information, but also to state that we are part of the Situation Room, which is hosted at Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. And therefore, we completely do agree with those numbers. Let me just give a little brief of what happens when calls come in, reports come in, because there are monitors that we engage, human rights defenders on the ground. The public is watching. So any information that is received at the commission, it is analyzed. And a lot of us, different civil society actors, members of the Police Reforms Working Group, sit in that unit, in the Situation Room. We call it a Situation Room. So when that information comes in, it is keyed in, it is analyzed. And then people like us, the Independent Medical Legal Unit, now utilize our tools and systems to undertake further investigations or rather documentation. Actually, let me call it documentation. So let me start with what we have at the Situation Room. The Situation Room, and I'll give figures as at the 31st of July. Just so that we are consistent on numbers.
Okay.
So the numbers we had in terms of the persons that were reported to have received injuries at that time were 601 persons. We had 60 deaths that were reported, and we had arrests of over 1,429 people. 1,429. And we had abductions at 66 people. People. Now, what we do, so Azimlu will now take that information and then, as I said, utilize our tools to assess further. So we have confirmed, and this doesn't mean that these numbers are not true, because we are a step behind, because for us now we are undertaking the thorough documentation. So we have confirmed that as at that time, the injuries are correct completely. The arrests are correct completely. We have been able to confirm the abductions. But for the abductions, I want to say that 37 of those abductions have been resolved.
Okay.
All right, that people have been found, or persons who lost their lives, unfortunately, have been found. So we have, some of them now translate into the death. Yeah.
Okay.
We still have 26 missing persons, and I'll speak a little about that because it's a very worrying situation. Now, we as IMLU have conducted 45 autopsies from the death, the dead persons. So we are able to confirm and verify the cause of death. And again, I'll be speaking to that. And these are the numbers that are with us. Now, there's a second set of data. And this is data at the Nairobi Funeral Home, City Mortuary. Now, we have 247 bodies that are lying at a City Mortuary. Of which 100
all this is at 31st July.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This the 247, 154 of those have been identified, meaning they are sort of closed. The relatives have been able to identify their kin. So these 154 are known.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
the 247 bodies at City Mortuary, does it include bodies that have been brought here by relatives?
Yes, the 247. Yes, yes.
So it's all bodies.
It's those bodies
at the City Mortuary.
At the City Mortuary during that period. It's actually from the date of 25th of June to 30th of July. All right. So now, from the 154. There are 62 bodies that are unidentified and who are unknown. Let me call them unknown. They have not been identified. We don't know this is person A, this is person B. All right? Of course, there are records that have been provided by the police, and the records according to the books there indicate accidents, sudden deaths, drowning, suicide, natural death. So there are those, supposedly causes of death.
So hold on. This 62 unidentified bodies, how did they end up at City Mortuary?
Now, some were dropped there. Some have been collected by police and taken to the mortuary. So there are different sources. They landed there through different ways.
How many other ways could there be? Yes.
At times people take.
So people will take their relative.
Yeah. But
they'll report.
They'll report. So these 62, we want to confirm are not part of what has been taken by relatives.
Okay.
Because as I said, these are unknown.
Yep.
They're not. If a relative would definitely know I'm taking my kin.
Yep.
So they'll have a name.
And there'll be a record of who.
And there'll be a record. So these are police. These are taken in by police. Now, so when we say there are 62 unknown, okay, it means that certain processes have to be undertaken for a conclusive determination of who they are. Autopsies need to be done, to determine the cause of death. Fingerprinting needs to be done to identify who they are. And DNAs need to be done to also confirm their relations to their next of kin. So there's a long process that has to be finalized.
But against each of these bodies, there's a police report on how they ended up here. The police must have said, picked up at blah, 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 blah. What do those reports say?
Now, that information has not been made public to us. What we have is just what is listed as a cause of death. So 11 accidents, 12 mob injustice, sudden death 11, drowning 10, suicide 2, fire cases 2, natural deaths 3, shooting incidents 3, 1 infant death, 6 murder cases, 1 unknown. No record was given. Okay. But let me just clarify this, that given what has been happening, we do know that there's been a lot of falsification of information and data. So I am insisting on a due process that is provided for to determine the cause of death and who these are and link them to their families. And let me say that it is a very unfortunate situation in Kenya because we have families that are struggling with the loss of their loved ones. We have families looking for their people. They have never been found. Remember the 26 I talked about. And just to say, the 26 are not amongst these ones because the relatives of the 26 have been moving from morgue to morgue looking for their people.
And they're not here.
They're not here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an important clarity. And so even as we speak about this, allow me to say my sincere condolences, to pass my sincere condolences to the families that are struggling with the pain and trauma of not knowing where your relatives are, or not knowing why they were killed, not knowing if they're alive or dead.
Okay. There's a figure that you did not go into. When IMLU now is doing its own thorough, deeper documentation,
yes,
you confirm the injured, you confirm the arrests, you've confirmed the abductions, the dead. Do you confirm the 60?
The dead are confirmed as 60.
Okay.
But we've only done autopsies for 45 of them.
Okay.
Okay. We've only conducted 45 autopsies. It's an expensive process. It's a complicated process. It takes time. Yeah. So we've only done 45. We are still going to cover the remaining.
Okay. This 60, they can all be traced. They have a name, they have a relative. They're identified. The 60 confirmed deaths.
Yes.
There's a name
yes,
to each of them.
Yes.
And it's confirmed with their relatives as well, that this is our person.
Yes.
They've been identified, basically. Have they? Are there unidentified people among these 60 that are dead?
Amongst the 60, no. Amongst the 60, these are identified.
Okay.
Yes, these are identified. Amongst the 60, they are known.
Okay.
Yes. The 62 are the unidentified. The 62 that were amongst the 247 in the morgue. Yes.
So the 60 are identified.
Yes.
We know these ones are.
Yes.
And then we have another 60 bodies at City Mortuary alone.
Yes.
62 bodies at City Mortuary alone that we don't know who they are. Okay.
Yeah.
The abductions, how do we define abduction?
Abduction is when somebody has been taken unwillingly to an undisclosed location. Nobody knows where they are. They were just taken forcefully. They did not go willingly.
Taken by who?
Of course, state agencies.
How do we know?
I think the trend, you have seen it. We've had media, all of us have seen it on mainstream media, people being pushed into cars that are unmarked. We've seen a good example is the Gaitho story. We all saw, and it was announced. We've seen the young people calling out, have been, somebody saw I was with so-and-so. They have been taken unlawfully. Please find out where they are.
Many times, those arresting them are not in uniform. They are in unmarked vehicles. So how do we know that these are state agencies?
Some have covered their face.
Yes. And that's something we want to talk about because that's a new tactic that is being used by security organs. And it is against all international protocols and laws. The police have to be in uniform. They need to be identifiable. They need to have a badge on them that shows their number, their service number, and their name. But now we've seen them being masked in plain clothes, in unmarked cars. But the operations and the how they abduct, you can tell these are trained people. They are carrying weapons that openly they do not conceal. These are not even normal weapons that criminals use to begin with. I mean,
I'm trying to get ahead of this story where the police come and say we are not the ones. Because if they're not identified, we have 66 people who we say have been abducted. 37 of them have been resolved. Either they're found dead or they have been returned and reunited with their families. Okay? And then we still have some 26 who are missing. Those that have come back, how do we know that they had been picked up by authorities? And those that are still missing, the 26, how do we know who picked them up?
Okay. Now, from the reports of those that have been found, and this is in the public domain as well, they have a few of them, because it's very, very traumatic, a few of them have come up publicly and have shared their story, their experience, and what they went through. All of them, and the story is consistent, all of them were questioned about their involvement with the protests. All of them were put in vehicles, blindfolded, driven around for hours, put in some cells or a holding. They don't know where exactly it was. Most of them, they were still in blindfolded when they were put in enclosed places. And then later again, driven around for a bit, and then dropped
Abandoned
somewhere where? Near rivers, near forests. And we have seen bodies that have been thrown in quarries and in rivers. And those bodies have a story to tell. The dead speak. Our reporters, Imlu, says that the dead speak because there's a story. When we do autopsies, we do not do them for the sake of doing them. It is to find the story and to get closure.
So, Grace, how do we know who the abductors are?
So Eric, allow me to ask you. Let me just ask you this question, yeah? Who puts you in a vehicle, drives along with you, and asks you about who is funding your protests? And how do you know about IMF? And how do you know about ABCD?
Anybody can do that. Siti and I can actually do that this morning.
We can ask even more questions than you mentioned. You see, the atmosphere that we have lends itself to an open season situation where if I have a grudge against you, that's all I need to do.
Okay. Then we turn this around. Whose duty is it to protect citizens? It is a state.
That's a good question.
Okay?
Yep.
The duty to protect every citizen is the state. And therefore, these abductions should not be happening in broad daylight. They're not even happening in the dark. Yes, a few people have been picked from their homes in the evenings, at night, doors have been knocked. But most of what we've seen has been in broad daylight. A vehicle parks, pushes you into this waiting vehicle, and they drive off with you. So again, if it is not the state, then the state should be out protecting its citizens. Let me tell you, the amount of fear and anxiety we are creating in this country is unbelievable. We are building up anger, frustrations, fear. Those are dangerous elements. Those are really not good places for people to be.
I'm insisting on this question.
Yes.
It's because you told us IMLU has tools, has all these things. Has any of those tools been deployed to try and identify who abducted so-and-so? Who picked up so-and-so? Where were they? How did they come out? Because then we can then use that and go and clear all shadow of doubt and say, these people who picked this person up can be traced back to a police station or a DCI office or NIS, because all these words have been used out there. It is to avoid the president, every time he stands, he says, I promised and I still vow that there shall be no extrajudicial killings or abductions under my administration. That is basically saying that it is not state agencies
Okay.
that are conducting this.
Okay.
So the only way to counter that is not to ask, but who else would it be?
Yeah. Let's use the Gaido case, for example.
Yes.
He was abducted, wasn't he?
He was.
Put into a vehicle.
Yeah.
Where was he driven to? Where was he found? So in as much as we keep saying, during my tenure, I promise that there will be no extrajudicial killings, there will be no enforced disappearance. That is a statement. But what are the organs that are charged with the mandate and responsibility of allowing and ensuring and safeguarding the freedoms that are provided for in our Constitution doing? How many cases? We have cases of people, again, it's not just Gaido, who the police denied they don't have them in custody. Where were they found? In a police station. Yeah, we have the Kisumu case. We have somebody last week who was actually in a police station, and he was denied access to lawyers, but he had sent out word. So we sent lawyers into the police station. When he was released, somebody who had been abducted and was okay, he had injuries. He's still in a hospital as we speak. This is a human rights defender. So the narrative that is being put out there that these are not state organs is not the right thing. And I can assure you that not just as a lot of people have documented these cases. At the moment, we cannot disclose and give all the details because these are open cases that are going to go to a court of law. Some are already in court. Yeah? And people have documented their experiences. So even when they don't say that I was in X police station because we're not able to identify the police station, the manner, demeanor of the questions, their statements. By the way, we have a lot of witness statements that we've already taken, a lot of them. So we have all these details, and it's not just us. And they're not just stored with us, just so that, again, I declare that if anyone is looking for evidence to destroy, please do not just come to us, because this evidence is in a lot of different places. We've ensured that. Okay? And it will see the light of day. I think Kenyans have said, we really want justice. We want a change. Eric, how do you ensure change if you cannot start by acknowledging the mistakes that the government has made, the mistakes that security organs have made, and saying, from now, we will use the law and we will enforce what is provided for in the law, and we will safeguard the rights and freedoms of Kenyans. If we don't do that now, we are continuing to build anger amongst Kenyans.
Good one. Let's take a break. It's 25 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is Grace Wangeshi. She is the Executive Director of IMLU, the Independent Medical Legal Unit. We are talking about safety of protesters ahead of tomorrow's Nane, but also looking back at what has happened so far in the protests. Number of injured, number of dead, 60 people confirmed dead, 601 injured, 1,429 arrested, and there are many who've been abducted, 66 of them, 26 are still missing. But we still have some bodies lying at the city mortuary that are still unidentified, and how they ended up there is still in question. 62 people, not bodies, 62 people are at city mortuary. And nobody knows who they are. Okay, that's a big one.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking. I'm not pregnant. Not now.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, Nairobi is mostly sunny at 12 degrees and Kakamega 19 and sunny. Mombasa mostly cloudy at 24. The same thing to Malindi at 25. It's sunny in Nyeri at 13. Nakuru town is sunny now. Nakuru city sunny at 14. Kisumu city sunny at 20. Eldoret city sunny at 15. Kakamega town sunny at 19. Mogadishu is sunny at 26, Addis Ababa sunny at 13, Dar es Salaam sunny at 24, Johannesburg clear skies at 8 degrees, 25 in Lagos, 19 in Kampala, Kinshasa is 20 and partly cloudy, New York is light rains at 22, London mostly cloudy at 14, and Beijing is sunny at 30, while Paris is cloudy at 17. North Airport Road coming towards town from the interchange with the Outer Ring Road. It started doing its thing, so be patient. Mombasa Road heading into town, it's only starting to pile up at Imara Daima, but the rest of the road is clear. When you get to Nyayo Stadium, it's clear, but when you get to Bunyala, you'll find a bit of a snarl up, and that's the same that applies if you are on this road called... what's it called? Douglas Wakihori Road. And then Langata Road is okay as you get anywhere, and Raila Odinga Way is also fine. Jogoo Road is okay, and you get to Landis Road, it's busy around Gikomba Market, into Bus Station, into the Haile Selassie roundabout. Thika Superhighway, it stretches all the way to Survey coming towards town. Kiambu Road is not so bad. I think the happy hour is working. And Muranga Road is busy around Gara into the Globe Cinema roundabout. Westlands into town, okay. Limuru Road into Muthaiga and out of Muthaiga is fine.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with the Executive Director of the Independent Medical Legal Unit, Grace Wangeshi, on safety of protesters. City.
You know, the problem with the situation such as the one we have, I mentioned in passing that it's for some people an opportunity to do things that they, in ordinary circumstances, when we didn't have the disturbances, they could not do. That's one. Two, I've had conversations with members of the security forces in this country, and one of the things that I have raised with some of the ones I know is this very thing we're discussing, the disappearances. And let me just mention what one of these individuals whom I know told me. Said, we have a problem, they said, with criminals. Said, some are people who were in the service as we are, some are not. Said, the problem is, even when you have arrested someone and you think they are going through the process, so there's usually no guarantee that they'll even end up in jail. Okay? Said, and some are repeat criminals, and the longer they stay away in power, I mean, the longer they stay out of jail, the greater the danger they cause. But they also told me that the other danger is their own life. Said, if you are the arresting officer and this person is not in jail, your life is also in danger. Now, I'm reporting what I was told. So they say some of the times the things that people see and understand may look like it is cruel. He said, but they cannot always reveal why it is they do what they do. That is what I've reported. But my understanding of the situation as I see it, especially with our security forces, is something that was brought up here by one of our guests. When you have a security service like the police service, who live in the manner that they live, who are paid the sort of salaries they're paid, who are not facilitated as properly as they ought to, who are not given the wherewithal and an ecosystem within which they can carry out their functions properly, whether it's being provided with adequate vehicles, whether it's being provided with whatever it is they need to carry out their duties. The net result is you have a force that is traumatized. It may not appear so, because you cannot have people who seem to find it normal to inflict pain and to kill people and to do the sort of things that we do unless that individual is that way inclined. And the only way people get that way inclined is either you are born with a psychological defect or you're somebody who in your life, it's something you experience. So meeting it out is not very difficult. Now, that is what I have surmised. Now let me tell you my thoughts. It's in the form of a question. When we fight for the rights of the citizens, the police, men and women, are also citizens. Who fights for their rights? Because they also have rights.
Okay. Very, very good question. Now, IMLU convenes a network of 23 organizations. And our network is called the Police Reforms Working Group. So let me start at that. Now, why this network came to be is to look at the rights and welfare of the police as well, and what reforms are necessary for Kenyans to enjoy their freedoms, their fundamental freedoms as provided in law. Now, two things. One, there's absolutely no way as a state agent that you can say, because I'm not adequately equipped, because I am not, I don't have the provisions in terms of proper housing, in terms of whatever, that I will mete out my frustrations on Kenyans or on citizens. You can never do that. That is a line you can never cross. Never. However, you also have fundamental rights, absolutely. And if you go back to the Maraga report, the task force report, it highlights a lot of these things in regards to police welfare, in regards to how they are training, in regards to the equipment, access to medical services. All that is there. And the police service commission and the state organs are supposed to ensure that the police are taken care of. But that does not in any way, and should never in any way, influence how you treat a citizen. Number one, you're paid by taxpayers' money. Number two, you are trained through taxpayers' money. Number three, you opted to take this up as a job, as a role, and you were sworn in to the protection and safeguarding of rights. You can never go back on this. Kenya has ratified all these international instruments. The International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, the Protection Against Torture, all this, and we have a constitution to begin with. So let's separate the issues. It is true, there are many issues around the police welfare, training. In fact, one of the big things and the gaps in training is around human rights. It's around professionalism. How do they understand human rights? They are being able to perform in a professional manner. That is what now you're talking about. So professionalism means I have this responsibility and mandate. I will uphold myself to the highest standards possible. I can never negate that. It does not matter.
It's an oath you saw anyway.
It's an oath you saw. Yes.
But doctors swear
and a ground.
an oath as well. Do they not?
And let me just say this. We are actually, the Police Reforms Working Group has been working with the National Police Service, with different organs, to provide technical support, to agree on areas we can support, improve, and also push for their rights and welfare. So we're also doing that. We are even ready, and we do offer psychosocial support because they also go through trauma. Yeah? So let's not mix things. The oath is so fundamental. You cannot play around with an oath.
Let me go back to the statement I made. Doctors take an oath. Do they not?
Yes,
now,
they
having
do.
taken that oath, they have the ability to do something the police cannot do. They have a union, they go on strike. Why? Because certain fundamental rights that they have been abrogated. Certain understandings that they have not been met. When the doctors go on strike, do they seek to have people die? No. But do people die? Yes. Do people, are there individuals who are unattended to? Yes. The police cannot go on strike. So if they have rights that are being abrogated, they cannot in any way have any industrial action or demonstrate about the problems that they have. That's why I raised the question. I'm going to disagree with you on a little point here. Much as I would like to separate issues, we actually cannot. Our experiences make us who we are. Whether it is the lived experience as a child, my experience in my training where I went to school, my experience in the work I do and the people I work with, they all influence us and they all determine the way we behave. If I look at the ecosystem within which somebody who works in the police service, what they encounter on a daily basis, we cannot say that it doesn't influence or affect their lives, and it doesn't affect the outcomes of how they relate to the citizenry. It does. And that's why the mitigating circumstances that led to the question asked has to be asked and then has to be addressed. Because if they can't do what the rest of us can do, and yet they also have rights, and that the same government that falls short of meeting the things that we desire, falls short of meeting what they desire, the effort that IMLU makes is laudable. But a lot more needs to be done, and beyond IMLU. IMLU may be stretched to their limits, but IMLU cannot do what it is that the government is actually supposed to do.
Absolutely. We are in total agreement. In fact, what we do is simply demand for accountability. We simply demand that the rights that we have ratified within the international instruments, that the rights provided for in our constitution are safeguarded. Why do we have the rule of law? It is to set in place certain standards so that we have a functional country, so that democracy can be upheld, so that people's rights, opinions, voice can be heard. Why are people protesting? Why are people picketing? It is because there are certain things they want to communicate. It is because they want to get audience. It is because they want their issues to be heard, and heard by the right person, heard by the right offices, and not just heard but actioned upon. And when I say that people are getting angry and frustrated, it is because, yes, at times we hear, yes, at times the government hears, but are they actioning on what change the people want? It's not like the Gen Zs have nothing to do. It's not like they're not putting their lives at risk. It's not like Kenyans don't have anything to do. When people go out on the streets, they are going out there because we want a better Kenya. They want a better Kenya. IMLU and its partners in the Police Reforms Working Group and other civil society organizations are there to ensure that the space is conducive for people to be heard, for government to deliver on its mandate. And so, yes, in some ways, you cannot negate, of course, the rights and welfare of state officers. That's fundamental. However, you cannot, and my point is, and I'll insist on this point, you cannot say that because I am not adequately remunerated or resourced, then I will pour out my frustration on the people I'm supposed to safeguard. That's my point. You cannot do that. So right now, the Constitution, Article 37, provides for the right to peaceably protest. And so if there's a notice that we're going to protest, the police have been trained on how to handle the public, how to safeguard, how to crowd control. Let them adhere to those procedures as long as the protests are ongoing and they are peaceful. That has been provided for. And I think the conversation around tomorrow, because I have heard the acting IG's message, yesterday. If we uphold the Constitution and we provide for the protests to go on without the infiltration by goons and people who come to cause violence, it will be peaceful and people can go back home. We have witnessed many peaceful protests here. And I think it is important that we say, let the law be followed, because that's why we have a law. Why did we invest in having a constitution if we're not going to adhere to it or safeguard it because somebody's welfare is not being, it's in want. I don't believe in that.
How do you ensure this balance? Because yes, there are very many people who want to come out to protest just to make sure that their voice is heard, and they are peaceful. They want to do it peaceably, lawfully, and follow all guidelines.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there may be those who are coming who are otherwise motivated. They have either been paid or they have been, recruited, or they have been told, okay, you guys go there, but make sure that these peaceful ones are not as loud as they are. All right. How do you guard against that?
Okay.
If you're a police officer, if you're a fellow demonstrator, how do you do it?
Yeah. Now, I like the call the Gen Zs have made. They have said we want to have a peaceful protest. And they have said, goons, whoever is hiring people, please do not infiltrate. They have made a passionate call that I have seen in the media. It's everywhere. Now, what the law provides for, and I want to read the duties of and obligations of duty bearers. Respect and protect the rights of individuals to express their views and assemble peacefully. Use non-violent methods to manage and de-escalate situations to avoid unnecessary force. They have been trained on how to de-escalate situations. They have been trained on use of appropriate force, measures that quell and calm, the situation. There was a court ruling in Malindi recently that banned the police from using excessive force. So upholding the law. This is a court ruling. When we disregard a court ruling, what does that speak to? So in regards to the balance, Eric, there are lots, and we've actually issued as IMLU and other partners, the do's and don'ts, Issue warnings before taking enforcement actions, giving people a chance to comply. Ensure access to medical aid for anyone who's injured. Wear police uniform. Be identifiable by badge number to promote accountability. The issue of having people in plain clothes holding guns and big machines and being part of the crowd control, and back to the question you asked, they cannot be part of the crowd control in police uniform if they're not police. I mean, how? So in as much as we are saying the narrative is the people who abducted are not police, it's a false narrative. It is a false narrative because police would never allow you to stand with them and crowd control. I mean, unless really we've lost it. We've lost complete control. So if that is what we are saying, then it's a different conversation. But I do believe, and I have confidence, that if we changed our attitude, the National Police Service can actually do a good job. They can do a good job and manage the protests and actually stand out and say, we lived within the provisions of the law, we've allowed and enabled Kenyans to express themselves, and they can be celebrated. They can set standards. It's never too late to change. I am appealing that we go back to the Constitution, we go back to the training. And I'm also appealing, if you have been paid as a goon, if there's anyone out there planning to infiltrate, please stop it. Kenya belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us. Let's have peaceful protests. It's a right. It will never stop. Because there are things I will not agree with. There are things, Eric, you'll not agree with. You need somebody to listen to you.
We have SACCOs. We have Matatu SACCOs. Teachers have SACCOs. Civil servants have SACCOs. Do goons have SACCOs?
Nice question. I have no idea. I have no idea, but somebody who pays them is listening.
The voice that is listened to in this country, and it has been demonstrated, the goons would never have come out if the protesters are not being effective. And the goons, it's a career path. Absolutely. That some people have chosen, and they have found that in one way or the other it pays. Otherwise they wouldn't bother with it. But what I fear is not that it is a career path that is a growth industry. That is what I fear. And if you look at the genesis of it, there are people in society who have been rogue. They exist, but they're always fewer than the rest of us. But when you have leaders in authority disregarding, for instance, court orders, like the immediate former president, what do you think you set in motion in terms of telling the citizenry and how they should relate to the law and to pronouncements by the courts?
Exactly. Very good point. If the peaceful protests were not successful, there would be no guns on the street.
None.
There would be absolutely no guns on the street. And it therefore means that there is a space and place for the protests. Change only happens because somebody stands up and says, I'm not going to uphold status quo anymore, because things need to be done differently. Now, these guns, it's so unfortunate that they have seen an opportunity and gotten in. But I still go back to the person who's charged with the responsibility to manage them. The National Police Service. By the way, they can single them out in a crowd. They know them.
They do.
Their demeanor, the way they act, what they carry is telling.
Well, they know them even by name.
They even know them by name, some of them. So there's no way they are not able to manage them. There is absolutely no way they are not able to manage them if they wanted. And that's why I'm saying change of attitude, behaviors. That has to happen. We must change our attitude. And the Maraga report is very clear on that. Attitude of the police, attitude, behavior. I have been trained. I mean, let's go back to a gory picture in our minds. How do you have a sniper shooting down at innocent young people? How? How do you use live ammunition on young people of this great land of ours who are carrying nothing but a placard, piece of paper, and a phone? What justification would you ever have? And so it goes back to goodwill. But if the president stood and said, allow them to picket because it's their right, as long as it's within the confines of the law. Just provide escort security for them. Don't interfere. Let's listen. Give an audience. Because when you're protesting, you're actually giving your voice to somebody. There's somebody you're giving out your protest to, your request, your petitions. Do you know that statement would make a very big difference? And if somebody stood and said, by the way, we acknowledge that the state has failed in safeguarding the rights of Kenyans, that we have 601 people injured, and we take responsibility, that we have lost 60 people. By the way, remember, last year during the Maandamanos, we lost 67 people.
Yep.
Any acknowledgement or action?
None.
None.
Doesn't come. Grace, we hope that tomorrow will actually be peaceful, like you said.
Yeah.
Grace Wangeshi is the Executive Director of the Independent Medical Legal Unit. We've been talking about safety of protesters. There's a law that says that you have a right to protest. There's a police that's supposed to safeguard your safety and all. Let's make it peaceful. 8 a.m. news time.
94.4 SpiceFM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto is expected in Embu County today as he begins his 3-day development tour of the Mount Kenya region. President Ruto, whose visit comes at a time when his deputy Rigathi Gachagua continues to cry foul over supposed humiliation from the president's aides, will travel to Murang'a on Friday and Kirinyaga on Saturday. The visit also comes at a time when there are claims of a plot to impeach Gachagua. Analysts say the president could be seeking to test the waters on how deep his deputy has been able to pacify his backyard. On Sunday, Gachagua addressed the region on vernacular radio stations and painted a picture of a community targeted by the Kenya Kwanza administration. He said he's been humiliated and labeled a tribal bigot for pushing for the community's interests. As Gen Zs prepare for another round of protests tomorrow, dubbed Nane Nane March, Acting Inspector General Police Gilbert Masengeli has said it's time to differentiate between peaceful demonstrators and opportunists who take advantage of the riots to cause mayhem, destruction of property, destruction of property and acts of violence. Masengeli has also assured the National Police Service's preparedness to maintain peace across the country during the demos. Speaking at the National Police Service campus in Embakasi, Nairobi on Tuesday, after talks with regional police bosses, Masengeli said all Kenyans must live by the rule of law.
On matters Nane, we are just talking about the normal general security. Everybody, every Kenyan, as per the law, has liberty to demonstrate, picket, and assemble as per the law. And that one, each and everyone is very much aware. And where the privilege of the rights of one ends is where the other starts. We are all Kenyans, and we have to live by the rule of law. This is a Kenya governed by democracy and governance by the Constitution.
There is anxiety in Kapsabet, a day after the town was thrown into chaos when an armed gang moved about the streets to disrupt planned protests. The gang, armed with long wooden stakes, helmets and masks covering their faces, patrolled the streets to deter a section of residents who had planned to protest against the Nandi County government, which they claim has not delivered. These people expressed dismay at what happened.
Kila mtu akona haki ya kutembea hapa Nandi County, lakini hooligans around town wenye wamebeba marungu, wamebeba silaha, OCS wa Kapsabet anafanya nini? Iko haki gani kubeba rungu, kubeba silaha katikati ya town? Hii town hakuna kazi. Hii town ukiona ni chafu.
Na mask na yellow na helmet. Hiyo helmet ni ya nini? Kama unataka kusolve a problem, ita watu kaa nao chini. Hao watu si wa huku. Ametoa watu Tindret, watu wengine Nandils, Langas.
But the gang members claimed that they were business persons and were only trying to protect their businesses from looters.
Wale watu walikuwa na helmets na kibini ya chembe ni wale wanabiashara walijitokeza wakasema tujunge biashara zetu isiharibiwe na wale watu wamejipanga kuja haribu biashara zao. So wale watu hawakuwa na shida yoyote, walikuwa wanachunga tu biashara zao, hawakuwa wanapiga mtu, walikuwa watu wasalendo. Tunataka tuseme kwamba sisi kama wana bodaboda tunahakikisha kwamba tunalinda serikali ambayo iko kwa uongozi kwa muda aliopewa. So tunahakikisha governor wetu anafanya kazi yake.
The government has announced plans to bring back the Linda Mama program, an initiative that afforded expectant mothers access to free delivery services. Public Health Principal Secretary Mary Muthoni said the program, which was part of enhanced NHIF, will be incorporated into the Social Health Insurance Fund, or SHIF, once it's rolled out. But last month, the High Court declared SHIF unconstitutional, citing, among other reasons, a lack of public participation in coming up with the program. Nonetheless, Muthoni said on Tuesday that the government was committing 2 billion shillings to enhance the Linda Mama program. In the U.S. presidential campaigns, Kamala Harris has chosen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Here's how she introduced him at a campaign event.
Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. I found such a leader. Former high school football players, he was coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Waltz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Thika Superhighway, yes, it's going back to all the way to Survey. Kiambu Road is in Muthaiga, heading towards town. Muranga Road is busy at the Glossary Cinema roundabout. Wangari Maathai Road is busy as you approach the Ojijo Junction, and then you move into that side. And then you see Haile Selassie Avenue is very busy all the way from the bus station coming up. And then Mombasa Road is also busy. Langata Road is busy around Makadara heading into town. That goes also into the Douglas Wakehori Road. Langata Road is also now very busy up to Timol Junction, and Raila Odinga Way is picking up. Mombasa Road, as you can expect, you'd have issues near City Cabanas. Yes. You'd have issues at Imara Daima. Yes. You'd have issues at General Motors. Yes. Do you have the issues on Outer Ring Road? Yes. Outer Ring Road and North Airport Road. Do you have issues on Jogoo Road? Yes, you do. At Makadara. Do you have issues on Landis Road? Of course you do. Do you have issues on Gong Road? Yes. At the lights and the roundabout, City Mocha roundabout specifically. Now, how's it coming in towards town from Westlands? It's busy as you approach the university, not a university, but the expressway, and that's the Brookside Grove Junction. That way it gets busy. James Geshoro Road heading into Wayaki Way is also busy.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the situation.
It is 9 minutes after 8 on the 7th day of August 2024. Tomorrow, I hope we'll get that to that Nini at 8 minutes after 8 on the 8th of August. Nane.
We'll time it.
Kabisa?
Yeah,
we will time it. Please remind me. We time it.
I will remind you.
Come up and say ni nane. Sa nane. Nane. Our next conversation is going to be about what's happening. So we expect that the National Assembly Committee on Appointments will be presenting its report to the National Assembly today with regards to all those 20 cabinet nominees that they interviewed over the weekend. There's already news that maybe the committee has approved all of them. So would it be a good thing, or would it be a bad thing? Are people happy with the process of that entire vetting? Okay, are people feeling that the country and the leadership of the country is now responding to what Kenyans really have been saying when they say that we are the sovereign and we feel that we want more accountability, we want a more responsive government? Are they feeling that? These and more, what we'll be discussing now with Herman Manyora, political analyst, who's in the studio. Herman, good morning.
Morning, Latiff.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me. But more so, let me say thank you and kudos for a good interview. The one you had with His Excellency the President.
Asantana.
William, it was well conducted. And on behalf of Kenyans, I must thank you. It's a good interview.
Kabisa.
You can pass the same to your colleagues, Joage and
Linus.
The Masai boy. It was a wonderful.
Linus will get the message.
Why are we not thanking the President for having made it possible?
Yeah, of course, that goes without saying.
Yes. It's true.
Yeah, the
credit
moment
to
I
him
say,
as well.
The moment I say His Excellency,
yes,
it means I am.
Hamad, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
And it's good to always see you, and in your age, and you're looking good.
Yeah. I thank God for every inch of life. Yeah.
Do you do regular medical checkups?
Hey, that is another problem. I'm an African.
Okay, now we need to talk to this man.
I am an African.
No, let me talk to him.
Yes.
Because my years are also not few.
Yes.
Okay? The Aga Khan University Hospital
correct
has done something very unique. They have outlets and branches all over the country. Not just the city, but within the city of Nairobi, there are very many.
I've seen.
And this is what they're saying. Look, in a country like ours or anywhere else, the one priority one should have is to ensure that they remain healthy and well. And the only way you can do that is if you have a comprehensive medical check. Now, most people believe that a checkup simply requires a lot of money and a lot of time, and most people say they can't afford it. The Aga Khan Hospital is saying, look, if you go to any of their branches, literally any, the amount you need to consider is 9,950 Kenyan shillings.
Okay.
They will afford you a comprehensive checkup.
Comprehensive.
The word, underline it in red, circle it in green. Comprehensive checkup for that amount. And when you get to a certain age, Herman, the sort of age that you and I exhibit here, twice a year is useful. Simply look for the money, go and get. The reason is this. If you know you have a condition and it is detected in its early stages, managing it is so much easier. It stops being a problem.
Right.
If you wait until it manifests, then it is a problem.
I think you are right. As we speak, I have a friend at Aga Khan, the same Aga Khan hospital, admitted yesterday night. He's in the ICU, friend fine John. Just abruptly, and you look at him, just abruptly.
He was well, and then suddenly.
Yeah, suddenly.
Yes. That is what you want to ensure that you prevent a situation where because it's manifested, but it was there before it manifested.
I think we need to take that chance from Aga Khan.
Yes.
It's important.
Special guys, we need an extra year or two. Life becomes sweeter as you grow older.
Too, Chief. I'm thinking 30.
Every new day. And all the best to your friend, Peter.
Yeah,
John?
We pray for John. Yeah.
All the best. All the best to him. And also to your friends and family. So, Siti.
Yes.
Patia mzee, the proverb.
The proverb we have is from the Republic of Botswana. But I'm going to mention a second proverb because there was a request for it. Okay, a Maragoli proverb.
Okay.
So let me...
From Ngutia.
Yes.
Radio France International.
Yes. Now, this is the proverb that we have for this particular day from the Republic of Botswana. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Let's hear that one first.
Don't laugh
at the fallen,
yes,
for the slippery path is still ahead. That is today's proverb. Yes.
My friend who said it was called Ingati.
Okay, now Ingati for you,
yes,
this is a Maragoli proverb.
Yes.
Okay. He who does not see his mother in her youth may think his father threw away the cows.
But is that telepath or what? That's the one I had in mind when he said. What is all this?
What do you mean?
Honest to God, I'm not lying. That's the one I had in mind. What? Utala nyinambuka na dada yako zingombe. That's how Maragoli. Because you didn't see your mother when she was young, you think your father just threw it. What is this? Aliwa kitu gani? Ngombe alitupa tu. Thank you. And the other one?
That is the Maragoli proverb.
Yeah, which is true.
Yes.
It's a very popular Maragoli.
But just so that you understand, I did a little work on it. Let me tell you a second one, just for consumption. The one with many uncles slept hungry.
The one with many uncles slept hungry.
This one I read, but I didn't understand it.
I can tell you.
Yes.
You know, normally, when there is hunger, people, they go to Husuma. That's how the name Kisumu
came into being.
Husuma is you go to your relatives. They may admonish you for being a lazy farmer.
Yes.
But you won't leave them empty-handed.
They'll give you food.
So you come with food. So now, if you have many, it may lead into thinking every season.
You don't have to work.
So when you go there now, because of that laziness.
So the one with many uncles slept hungry.
Yes,
because the uncles came visiting.
You know, you
And
take
they
it
took the
for
food.
granted
You take it that you'll be going to them, so you don't.
So inafika mahali wanasema baba inatosha.
Wanaambiana.
Yes.
Wanaambia ukimwona huyu ametokea wachana na yeye. He doesn't want to be. Ignore him. Then you come back and sleep hungry. Yeah.
Okay. So don't be lazy.
No, don't. Be industrious.
Be industrious. Don't think about
Stand
your
for
uncles.
yourself. Correct.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Now, hoping God is happy.
I am hoping you will tell us. I hope he has heard, and I hope he's happy. His message was received.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So, Herman.
Yes.
Since this protest began, we haven't had a conversation with you here.
Yeah.
So we want to start from that point.
You're unfair to me.
We invited you, but I think you're very busy.
We will not mention where you went, but you were busy.
I was busy. Okay.
Yeah?
You are right.
So, what do you make of these protests from the beginning to where they have reached to tomorrow's planned protest?
The Gen Z process.
Mm-hmm.
My position and my understanding is very clear that this is a revolution. First, as a country, we must know things are not going to be the same anymore. But we should also have the benefit of what has happened elsewhere, most recently being Bangladesh, to inform our future action and even, in fact, current action. But more and more seriously, we must know this is a global trend. This is a global trend. The world is going to change. Those who change with the world will benefit. Those who try to resist will be swept off their feet. So my understanding is that the Gen Zs are just doing what I saw during the rounds on WhatsApp and other places. Some Mzungu man is saying there is a powerful force of nature sweeping across the world. A very powerful force of nature. Then we are waiting to hear what it is. Then he says it is youth. It's across the world. You saw it has even informed American policy and action on Israel. Right? America has not been as proactive in their support for Israel in the recent days as it was traditionally. You remember there were many campus riots. Young people telling America, no. You can't support Israel to massacre innocent people in Hamas. These young people on American campuses. They were American children of all races.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So this powerful force is now manifest in our country. And the best we can do for ourselves is to listen to the young people. Because they are our children. Listen to them. Correct them where they are wrong. Tell them running a government is not a cup of tea. You see, but before you tell them that, they must know you have listened. And how do they know you have listened? By doing certain things that are obvious, that will cost you nothing. You get it?
Such
the
as?
The so-called low-hanging fruits. Such as just constituting a good cabinet. Such as stopping the opulence going on in the country. Such as denying your friends access to money which they show off. Simple things. Those things, they don't cost you anything. Before you go to things that can cost the government money, just do those things that will cost you nothing. Just some courage. The courage to tell your friend, "Ai hapa kimeumana. You just go home, we can do other businesses with you. Take some time, go to Angola, start ranching, I'll support you." But a cabinet minister, hapa kimeumana, you can't be a minister. No. You know that you require some little courage. Because some people are facing serious challenges. So if you find a prime minister or a president, if you look at the demands placed on them, you can understand why they take time to act. But for us, many of the things these people are talking are just common sense things. And I've not even come across anything, any demand on the president that will call for him to go at home and think through the night. I've not seen. These simple things.
To us, it may seem simple, but let me just invest this slightly and ask, what is it that is within the genetic makeup of Kenyan political leadership that, to begin with, gets them to the point where they are doing what they are doing and doing so with impunity and repeatedly. And we've seen it successively. That very thing that allows them to think that they can get away with everything that they have been doing and that it can be rectified by a few words, by a few token activities. And when an opportunity for real change comes about, you see a repeat of the same tokenism. What is it in our makeup that makes these people think that this is how they can go about the business?
No, it's not in our genetic makeup.
I was very careful when I said the political class.
Yeah, political class, the genetic
yes.
makeup.
Yes.
I understand you.
Yes.
And I want to tell you it's nothing, it's not something difficult to understand. It's just our history. When we got independence, most of us in Africa and some other places like us, we didn't understand what independence was. We didn't understand what it meant to be a president of a country. And those who are living took advantage of our ignorance and our stupidity and our greed. And then led us, encouraged us on the path of grabbing, primitive accumulation and recklessness with power. That's how impunity started. And it has grown over the years. And it led to the many coups in the 60s and 70s. So that's it. It's not easy to live. I'm looking for a better English word. It's not easy to depart from bad habits. What our politicians are exhibiting is bad manners, bad habits that have accumulated over the years. So you become president and you think you are a god. You see, and you can't. It's not Ruto, it's not Uhuru, it's not Kenyatta. All of them in Africa. They haven't quite understood his service. So we need to re-engineer our politics to make those who get into power know that they get to power to serve, not to accumulate wealth, and not to load it over others.
Haman, think of it. Let's think. People, there are those who argue, those who studied psychology and other human behavioral sciences tell you that the language we speak very much influences our behavior.
Correct.
Now, what is the word in our vernacular for leader?
For leader?
Leader.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm thinking of it in my...
Your language. What do you share with us? With the
king.
Latiff, which is a king.
Yes.
But that's part of the problem. In some, but you see, like in our case,
ruler essentially is a ruler.
If you read Jomo Kenyatta's Facing Mount Kenya, he says the Kikuyu never had a king; they had leadership by consensus.
Yes.
So you cannot use that to explain Kenyatta's transgressions and excesses.
Was Ruoth not a chair of a council?
No. Ruoth, if you look at it, was actually a chief, not the village elder.
A chief.
The village elder was Ker. Okay? It is the chief because a colonial chief wielded so much power.
Colonial, not African chief.
No, colonial. Yes. They were African, but in the colonial, they wielded so much power.
Correct.
They had an act that enabled them to do anything, and the godlike facilities.
And
but you see, they were encouraged by the British system of rule.
Yes.
Because then you pump a few people, give them excess power so that they can allow you...
They can dominate their own people on your behalf.
Yeah. If you are looking
so
for...
before the colonizer, what was that structure of leadership?
Oh, the structure of leadership was very democratic among the community I come from. If you find, for instance, women from my community, the Luo community, vocal, it is because community meetings and gatherings allowed women not only to attend but also speak.
To speak.
Everyone was allowed to speak. So everybody had a voice. And you actually allowed to simply sit and speak. And then you ask, are you through? Then you go to the next one. And again, the leadership had to do with your own personal achievement and prowess.
Yeah.
You had to have a track record.
You have something.
Yes, you had to have a track record. And when you're a leader in the community, the reason why people came to you was because not only people argue, but why did people give you things? Well, you sorted out issues. You are the person people came to solve issues. It was too much for you. Then there were other people like you who would gather together and to listen to these issues. But you are somebody who had proven that you had the hearts of the community just beyond your immediate family.
In many of these traditional societies, if you look at the structure of governance,
Yes.
there was very little room for dictatorship.
Yes.
Because if you do some simple analysis and study, you'll find many of the decisions were never made by an individual,
No.
however powerful.
They never were.
Even in societies which worshipped somebody like the rainmaker or the Laibon,
Yes.
there still was always a council that worked with him. And there are certain decisions where you can, if you read in traditional literature, folklore, they lock themselves in a room, pretty much like the waiting for the smoke during to make a decision. So that tells you it wasn't a one-man decision.
It wasn't.
So that's why I'm going back to where I said our African leaders were actually made to think they were gods. Even it begins with a choice, and these Africans must know. The people who actually became our first presidents were not the people who ought to have been presidents. It's not even Mandela who should have been the president of South Africa, the first black president. There were people like Steve Biko, of black consciousness, people who really wanted change for the African person. The Mandelas of this world, as much as we think they are gods, they were worked on, prepared. You remember he was even isolated from the other inmates and put in a special place to be prepared to become president. The same with Kenyatta. The same with all these others. In other words, they jumped the queue. So you can imagine a Kenya with people like that and Kimagdi and other riffraffs taking over. So you clear those ones and prepare the mission boys to take over. These were mission boys, and we have to be honest with ourselves. If we are going to change Africa, we have to go back to see how come these individuals have allowed foreigners to exploit their countries and the continent so that we live in abject poverty and we sit on all the minerals. I understand the minerals in this country. We are not a mineral-rich country. You know that? No, I'm saying we are not. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I understand.
Yes.
Even with the little we have, if we start to exploit our minerals sensibly, not by giving some Mzungu so that he pays some fee, 20 million shillings, and then, no, we exploit like with them together. They have the technology, they have the capital. Then we share in a reasonable way. We can pay our debts in just a year or two and never borrow again. So how come our leaders never allowed this to happen? They were wrongly chosen. They were the wrong people to start leading Africa. They were prepared. They were trained in Europe, you see, and made to see the world in a certain way. And they can't depart from that world.
You're saying that's why it's difficult for them to hear their people?
Yeah.
So when the people come
not meant
out
to hear their people.
and the people come out
They are
and say,
not meant
we'd like
to-
change, they don't hear
No,
it.
they don't hear. They were not meant to listen to the people. First of all, education itself is alienating. You can't get a Maasai boy, educate him, then you expect him to go back to the Manyata. He come to say Lavington. Ama namna gani? So, the Western education itself, it serves them well. It never gets a British child goes through education. That education prepares him or her to be a British citizen. Okay? To mingle with fellow citizens. But ours prepares us to
dominate.
to run away from our people. And whenever we get an opportunity of leadership, to dominate them on behalf of the colonizers and the former colonizers. So you cannot blame this arrangement unless you go to the history and dismantle it. And I'm wanting to believe, CT and Eric, I'm wanting to believe that this revolution could just do that, could do just that.
You think it
to demolish the infrastructure put in place by the Mzungu to help the African lord over fellow Africans. And if you know I'm right, look at the 1960s and early 70s. The preoccupation of the president was to protect his presidency. All state resources were put at his disposal to protect his presidency. All his enemies were created for him by the CIA. All the professors who were being detained had nothing. I laughed when one of them, Mkaronganga, came up now that you can now speak. So he want to run for president. Remember that day, is it Kivuitu or somebody was allocating, you hand in your certificate, your application, they go through, City Muga, you are now a candidate. You are allocated City Stadium. Another one in Nyeri. You remember that time? Mukaru Nganga was allocated City Stadium. There was nobody there. There are a few dogs moving there. But yet we have been made to believe these guys could take the government any minute. So these were artificial enemies created. You get it?
Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly. This is 29 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Herman Manyora, political analyst. We are looking at what's going on in the country. So yes, the Gen Z protests and the call for accountability and better governance. The response by those in leadership. President William Ruto disbanded the cabinet, took back the finance bill and said, okay, forget about this one. Trying to adjust the budget. Still more being asked of leaders. Is it enough? We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking. I'm not pregnant. Not now.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny day in Nairobi. It's currently 13 degrees and 21 in Kakamega at sunny day as well in Kakamega. Eldoret City sunny at 15. Kisumu City 22 and sunny. Nakuru City 15 and sunny. Kakamega Town 21 and sunny. Nyeri Town 13 and sunny. And then Malindi 26 and cloudy. Mombasa 25 and sunny. Kampala is 20 and sunny. Lagos 25 and mostly cloudy. Mogadishu partly sunny at 26, mostly cloudy in Addis Ababa at 15. Dar es Salaam sunny at 15. Paris is cloudy at 17. Kinshasa mostly cloudy at 22. Beijing rain showers at 30. Johannesburg is sunny at 10. London is cloudy at 14. And New York is raining, light rains at 22.
The best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
So let's start with the Westlands heading towards town. Yes, you know, as you get to Mogoga, it gets busy. James Kishuru Road is busy as you get to ABC Place. Same is happening to Wayaki Way, Red Hill Link Road, and then also Lower Kabete Road heading towards Westlands is very, 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 very busy. Peponi Road heading towards Westlands is also quite busy this morning. What's happening on Westlands as you approach, as you depart from the Museum Hill interchange heading towards Westlands, it's also busy. Heading into town, Uhuru Highway into University Way is busy. Uhuru Highway into Kenyatta Avenue is busy. Uhuru Highway into Haile Selassie Avenue at the Railways Bridge is also very, very busy. Haile Selassie Avenue getting into the roundabout with the Uhuru Highway is also busy. Landis Road, we know what happens. Muranga Road is very busy this morning. Ring Road is busy. This is Ring Road Parklands. Ring Road is busy this morning. Thika Superhighway, it stretches all the way to Utalii and it goes beyond Survey. Kiambu Road is busy heading towards town. Of course, as we're saying, all these roads, you expect Kangunda Road to get busy? Yes, it is. You expect North Airport Road to get busy as you approach City Cabanas? Yes, it is. Do you expect Mombasa Road to be busy at Imara Daima? Yes, it is. Do you expect it to be busy at GM? Yes, it is.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, our conversation continues with Herman Manyora, political analyst. Herman, so you say that you see this Gen Z, and you're calling it the Gen Z revolution, it's actually going to change things.
Correct. Correct.
How do you see that doing?
You see, a revolution marks a departure, sometimes a radical departure from the past. This is going to be something like that. A departure, and usually it is the way we view the world. So the revolution is mainly in the mind. So those who are sending policemen to beat up our boys, break up the demonstrations, clobber the boys, tear gas them, and even kill them, they are wasting their time. Because you cannot get the soul of a revolution using a baton or a gun. No, you cannot get. The soul of the revolution is not physical. So you can kill people in the streets of Nairobi or wherever it is. But since you can't kill the idea itself, the soul of the revolution, it will soldier on. It happened in Bangladesh, I think, recently. They killed I don't know how many people. But finally, the Prime Minister had to call it a day and run away to, I don't know, India, wherever it is. It's very unfortunate, like C.T. Muga says. I think that's why C.T. was gay. What is it that makes people not see very obvious things? You know, it's so annoying. It's so annoying that we can't see very obvious things. Who didn't see this finance bill was going to run into trouble? I mean, you think some people can make you feel Latiff like you are a genius. Have you ever gotten to feel like that sometimes? First you get so annoyed, then you step back and say, oh, or maybe I'm the only one seeing this. But it's not true.
Maybe
you are
the clever one.
It's not true.
No,
it is.
Can
it is
they?
just,
do you think they concede?
They can.
Do you think they concede, but they ignore it? Or do you think they actually could not see, for example,
I think
that the finance bill was wrong?
I think it is complex. One, power itself is very difficult. It destroys you. Muga, since he's a man of literature, he will tell you of the Greeks. There's something I can't remember where there is a person following the king, always to remind him by whispering to him, "You are not a god."
It is the Caesars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you are not a god. Oh, the Romans. Yes, the Romans. Yeah.
Yes, and it
yeah.
was and it was a slave.
Yes.
Somebody who knew they had to do what they were told.
Yes. To remind you all the time.
Constantly.
Yes, and especially when you're coming into Rome after a triumphant victory, you've conquered.
He had to be there with you.
And you are going into this and the crowd is cheering.
Yes.
The person is right there telling you,
you're not a god.
You are not a god.
You are but a man.
You are but a man.
You are but a man. Yani,
that is hiyo ndio kazi yake.
Ndio kazi yake. Na najua anaweza kuuawa.
Anakuambia tu ujue mzee, wewe ni binadamu si Mungu. So it also has a genesis in the Greek whatever mythologies. The idea is power can make you blind to what everybody sees, including children. But again, we live in very difficult times. CT and Eric. We are people out there to control the world, the so-called globalists. We have global institutions like the IMF and the World Bank with the idea of what the world ought to be. And they are making it very difficult for even a genuine third world leader to do their job. So sometimes we want to blame these people, but they are under spell, they are under capture, they are under direction. But my argument has always been, if we could get a few courageous leaders in Africa, now we have about 3 or 4. You know, those guys from Senegal, the Cote d'Ivoire, the others are where? Niger, Mali. If a few from the English-speaking Anglophone Africa, like another 3 or 4 or 5, went in that direction, these globalists will have a problem dealing with such a big number. And then the trend will start where we can stand on our own and say, go to hell. I can imagine a president telling the French ambassador, leave. 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 Just leave. Pack and go. People thought that was crazy, but the guy had to leave. And when he thought it was a crazy president telling him, the crowd was outside to tell him, please leave. So we will get there. And I see this Gen Z as a beginning that will start to put Africa on the path where we will reclaim what is ours, what God gave us. It cannot be that God gives us so much and we sleep hungry almost every day. It cannot be. Nobody can defend that. Why would you defend that? Why would you defend that? It cannot be the case that we are given so much, and amid so much and such a plenty, people are dying of hunger and of very treatable diseases.
You know, Haman, you bring in a very interesting point when you talk of the globalists. Now, every time someone mentions or goes in this direction and takes this discussion, one then is either labeled as a conspiracy theorist or as somebody who's just a wild thinker. But this generation of youthful leaders that we see in Western Africa, they are not the first wave of leaders who have sought to bring about change. There's a guy called Nyeri Rawlings, the late.
Sankara around the same time.
Yes, around the same time. Jerry seems to have survived and died when he had more or less retired from politics, okay?
Yes.
But the history that we have in this country, whether you're going to talk about Patrice Lumumba, whether you're going to talk about Nkrumah, whether you just keep listing them.
Magufuli recently.
To my point exactly.
Yes.
Somebody who takes a simple step and says, look, folks, tuheshimiane, as we say in Kiswahili, this gold is our gold. You're not going to be shipping it out in this form.
Yes.
You are going to smelt it here. You're going to add value here. Yes. Then we talk and agree on how this thing moves forward. Seems fair.
Yes.
Suddenly the person isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
When you say there's need for courage and there's need to take that step, there are leaders within East Africa who actually took that step. An example is someone like Paul Kagame.
Yes.
He did something that very people have not done. It was called a Francophone country. He changed that
to English.
He said, no. These are the people who sat when our people are being massacred. There's nothing of that sort.
Correct.
So the changes, we've seen snippets of it, but change is like a relay. If there was a marathon relay, that would be it. Where somebody starts and there are people who can pick this up and continue with it. Now, I'm going to say something that most people may not particularly favor, but that's why the Communist Party of China has a success story to tell. Because they have succession plans. Yes. One may not like the way they run their business, but that again is you not liking it. But you cannot argue against the success that party has made of their country. Much as you may try, you cannot.
That's true. But you see, there are two ways of changing this continent and these African countries. One is through the normal gradual processes of change. But where gradual and normal doesn't mean what we are doing ourselves. We are not doing it. We are not. So by gradual, I mean the sort of things you'll do so that in a couple of years, Africa has changed without
change.
Disturbing things. So the second one is where you disrupt order through the normal violent revolution. But I would even go for the first one, where, say we want to start with our resources. What is so difficult with having a good policy on mining? Which any sensible person. The crooks who come to exploit us will not like those policies. But a serious businessman, a serious mining enterprise
will thrive,
will come and you'll work with them. The crooks will not like. Okay? You go to tea. When I pass through Kericho, sometimes it is raining. Most of the time that place is raining.
In the afternoon it seems to always rain.
But Africans, our Africans, sometimes I want to cry. They are there plucking tea in the rain. And just we think about it. The price of that tea, even as that mama is it is raining and what they are plucking the rainfall now, the price is being determined in London. Can you imagine? Hata ijatoka kwa shamba, yeye anatoa, anachuna majani na bei yake inatengenezwa London. Why can't we even start there? Why can't we even just own these plantations, tea plantations? Why can't we own them? Why can't you process the tea and sell processed tea? Nobody will come and kill you because you are not trying to create an African currency and to unite Africa like Gaddafi. You could invite a lot of trouble. But just saying this tea is ours. You have had enough of this tea. In fact, the leases have expired for most of them. You've heard that story. We will renew the leases, but under different arrangement. Why can't we even just start there? so that this tea benefits this country, coffee benefits this country.
What does that require?
The narrative that you are a cash crop country. That narrative, and you see how it's being celebrated by guys who sit at Treasury, the so-called economic advisors. These are, I call them houseboys these economists. How much from coffee? How much from tea? Well, you listen to them and you want to slap them. What are they talking about? Why can't we process that coffee and sell it?
So, Herman, what does it require for us to get there? We require selfless leadership.
There are two ways. One is through a revolution, which means men and women who could not get to power through the so-called democratic processes, through the voting, get to the office by that kind of shake-up. So this one way.
But not just any men and women.
Of course, it has to be a man with a vision, as it has happened in those countries where dictators have taken over and changed societies. Cuba was a slave island. You may hate, Fidel Castro, but he turned a slave island into a country with the highest literacy rate in the world, with the best arrangement for healthcare in the world, and many other firsts, and many other countries. You may even hate it, but Russia.
So first, you need those individuals,
with a vision,
those men and women with a vision,
and to get the power,
who are completely and 100% committed and dedicated to the country,
nothing but
and
changing society.
So how they get into power now is a second.
So the second revolution, you see, at the close of the First World War, they are fighting barefoot. They can hardly afford boots. And Russia has the harshest winter. Hardly 4 years later, they are superpower. You see what I'm saying? But the other way is the normal democratic processes. And that's why this Gen Z may lead to that. The power that is being generated by this Gen Z could result in a man or a woman in State House who is not from the ordinary men and women we are used to. It's not Raila. It's not Kalonzo. It's not Ruto.
Musalia.
It's not Musalia. It's not any of these guys. Somebody like Eric Latiff. The guy say, Eric, we have listened to you. You have ideas. Go to State House and change this country. That could happen in 2027. So anybody who is underrating this Gen Z thing is joking.
Now, the thing is, again, we start with that person.
Yes, that person.
It is that man or woman who is completely dedicated to the country, who just wants to do the best thing for this country.
Correct.
And the vision is long-term.
Long-term.
They're not coming here to do
are long-term.
a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year thing. They don't want to be judged by the next election cycle.
No.
Theirs is a foundation, and somebody else comes and picks up
a man who goes to bed
and continues.
A man who goes to bed when others are dreaming about their girlfriends and things like those and money, he's looking at Kenya 50 years from now, and he can see a Kenya that is better than Dubai. That guy who created Dubai, he had a dream. When he shared it with the people, they thought he was mad. Look at even small things like Morocco, in countries like Morocco. Some of the wonders you see. A guy comes up with an idea and everybody thinks he's joking. That is what we need in this country.
Those ones were lucky. It's guys who are in, the monarchy. And they were at least
just lucky to be.
It was lucky that this person who is aligned to become the next leader is actually also thinking very well. Now, in the case of Kenya, how do we identify those people? Because now the Gen Z, like you're saying, the Gen Z are pushing. And as they push, then there is importance of the emergence and the identification
of a person,
of the leaders, not just one, because then
a couple of people,
the leaders who really mean well for the country. How do we identify
I'll
them?
tell you this. Like with any other revolution, many people will fall by the wayside. There will be, of course, look at people like Raila now, my friend. You see, has already fallen by the wayside. And others like him. After this one, these ones are obviously, everybody can see they have lost it. They are my friends. But I tell them they have lost it.
Imeenda.
They will never come back to the political scene of this country. But miracles happen in politics. Then there will be others who will hang on. I want to call them pretenders. and more heat will be generated. They will be required to make tough decisions, tough choices. That again, you will see them disappear. Let me give you a good example. Kalonzo is left standing when Raila goes to Ruto. But you know there's pressure on him. When I saw him with Raila and the other day, I said, hii pressure ni kama kameanza kuzaa matunda. So, will he withstand the pressure that will be put on him? Him and the rest, Eugene Wamalwa.
By who?
By the system. Systems don't go down just like that.
By his friends in the system or by the citizens?
Systems go down fighting. So the system is fighting. They will fight. They will use their friends. They will use even foreigners. They'll say, wewe hata utaenda America ukiendelea hivi. So that pressure will result in a number of these people. So this revolution will sort out the pretenders and the traitors and the people betraying the cause. As we move to 2027, it is quite possible that the men and women left standing can deliver this country. It's possible. But again, many of these things are bought. We've read about revolutions. They are hijacked. You saw Egypt after such a successful onslaught from the people. You remember that Tahrir Square? Was it Tahrir Square or whatever it was?
Tahrir Square.
But the whole thing was hijacked later on. Because sometimes these revolutions, like what we are saying, they have a problem with two things. One, structure. Two, leadership. So in the absence of the structure, it becomes difficult to even to identify the leadership. So then demagogues take advantage and take over power. Or in the case of, for example, Bangladesh, those people who are protesting, they have not taken over power. It's the military. So those are the hazards.
But they are calling for the person whom they think or they feel should lead.
Eunice.
Yes.
Yes. That would be good. That would be good. It sometimes it happens. I just hope
but
in Kenya,
as a caretaker, the challenge again comes.
Yes.
You have this person as a caretaker.
Yes.
So what happens after him? It's the same thing that we saw in Sudan.
Sudan, yeah, correct.
Revolution, get Bashir out, caretaker, then what happens?
Then the military says you are not even doing anything.
Yeah.
Or like in Sudan, military now starts fighting each other.
So it is difficult. That's why I say we should avoid the path of destruction, the violent revolution. We should just remain with what is peaceful change. And that's why I embrace the Gen Zs. They can lead us to peaceful change. Peaceful change. When the Gen Zs say Ruto must go, they don't mean Ruto must leave status. Certainly no. They are not that foolish. They mean let's change our bad ways, our bad manners. Let's put in place policies and measures to see this country realize its potential. Let's have a minister who during his 5-year stay at the ministry can help create 1 million jobs in that ministry. You see, that's what they're asking.
At least you and I, Herman, see it that way, right? Because I also believe that the Ruto must go hashtag and call is not necessarily for Ruto the person to leave State House.
Ruto the bad manners.
It's Rutoism.
The manners of the politician.
And Rutoism is not about Ruto. It's just not about this cabal of leaders at top level.
They are not that naive.
They've got to change. But there are those, Herman, who their message is very clear. William Ruto must cease being the president.
He must physically leave.
You see, they have their rights. They can say what they want. But democracy allows you to say anything, including crazy ones. You see, leaving, it is easy to say. But as we have said here, so what after leaving? So what after leaving? It is easier for us to leave the bad things. What is sad is that because we cannot leave our bad things, then somebody has to live physically. You see, it's very sad that instead of you just giving us a sensible cabinet, you are going to recycle people. You are bringing people that represent the worst of this country and you give them to us. Then you do another thing, then another thing. Then you are just telling us you are not capable of doing the right thing. You cannot change. You cannot leave bad things. Therefore, now Ruto the man must physically leave.
So that's where
the
risk is that.
Yes, that's the risk.
It moves from being Ruto change the way we are governed.
Yes.
Ruto take charge and listen to us and do as the law requires.
Yes.
And then if that doesn't happen, then it goes into you, Ruto, then go.
You go. No, you are not even told. At the time
it's
of
the same
going,
thing that happened in Bangladesh.
At the time of going,
in Bangladesh, it started with, can we change?
Yes, can we change? Simple things.
Can we just change?
Policy on employment. Just simple that favors.
Prime Minister says, come on. Yeah.
Or you give token, like you said, token changes, you find like Ukora.
In fact, they're not even changes, they're just activities.
Yeah, small little things here and there. Sunguram Janja.
You know, something came to mind when we're talking about all this, and this is from yesterday. You see, the question I ask is an endearing question in my mind. Okay, is it that when somebody ascends to political leadership, they then get conditioned? Because it's when someone is conditioned that they will keep repeating the same habit, even when it is clear that this habit is not, or unless something in the ecosystem. And in our case, when one knows that there will be no adverse consequences for the decisions they make and the actions they take, then it's like they are encouraged to continue making those decisions.
That's how impunity grows.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, as you say, you are asked to bring about change. Now, there may be qualities that the people whom the president decided to nominate, they may have qualities we do not know. That
how can they hide them that well?
That one I'm not even going to.
They must be too intelligent to be hiding those qualities.
Well, some good qualities stay hidden to the naked eye.
They only come out,
these are jokers.
Under fire.
These are jokers.
You see, Herman, why I say that tongue in cheek is this, huh? The manifestation of what we see is actually something that must be studied carefully. How it is, the rot sets in and then it solidifies. So it becomes what people in that particular class call normal. They've normalized it. That it is normal for a third world country like ours
to remain poor and dirty.
And to have people who consider themselves billionaires. They have no industries. They have no commercial activities you can speak of. They don't engage in any farming activities on a scale that can make you wealthy. And yet, that wealth is something that grows within a space of a year. I said, these, and this is what I was saying, these people seem to know something the rest of the country doesn't know.
No, they know. I will tell you what they know.
Yes.
They know we are foolish. They know we are just stupid people.
You they know or they think?
They know we are just stupid. They can get away with it.
So it's confirmed?
Yeah, I think.
It's confirmed we are stupid.
Pardon?
It's confirmed we are stupid.
I think we are stupid. By accepting, how do you even allow such a people? How do you even allow people like this to lead us? How? Look at what was going on in Parliament. As serious people just go and slap those people in Parliament. I'm not advocating for violence. But when the vetting was going, I just felt like getting one MP and another and banging their heads, bang! And then I take another. It is so sad, Latiff, because we are laughing about something that is very serious. We are talking about the future of this country. Yes. And whether we shall have a country called Kenya or not. We are talking about the future of our children and grandchildren. What's going on in the Parliament, that circus, has a bearing on what Kenya is going to be in the next 100 years.
Very direct.
So it's not a laughing matter.
True.
And yet we are just there cheering them on and laughing.
But they know.
And going on Twitter.
They know that we are stupid.
They know we are stupid. Sad.
Sit here. Let's get into the news first, and then we will continue this conversation. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is here for this conversation today. What are we seeing in the country? In the next hour, we talk about the vetting of the cabinet nominees and what we expect to come out of Parliament. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua has termed as unconstitutional the recently formed broad-based government which saw ODM party members being appointed into Ruto's cabinet. In an interview with a local TV station last night, Karua faulted the manner in which Azimio coalition leader Raila Odinga inked a deal with President Ruto, saying the two leaders have violated the law.
And I am saying, without entering into a formal coalition, this is a come-we-stay marriage. which is not allowed by the law. So to begin with, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, and it will lead to unconstitutionality in the conduct of the business of Parliament, where a party in government continues to chair watchdog committees, namely public accounts and public investment committees.
Karua also called on the ODM party to formally exit the opposition, saying it cannot oversight a government it's a part of.
ODM within Azimio was the leading opposition coalition party, and Azimio was the minority party. When ODM enters government and seems to deny through its party leader, then it wants to have its cake and eat it, because it's going to be part of government and to continue to hold minority seats that should be held by the next largest party, say Wiper.
After going on strike in May, nurses will now return to hospitals, having signed a return to work formula with the Ministry of Health on Tuesday. He is the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General Seth Panyako speaking after the signing.
It is true that the nurses have waited for this CPA for more than 10 years. We have agreed more than 4 times and it is changed. We agree it is changed. But at long last, we have a collective bargaining agreement that will serve as a foundation for the future engagement. The government made a promise with us in 2017 of enhancing our uniform allowance and nursing service allowance and risk allowance. In this CPA, we have gotten our risk allowance. We have gotten our uniform allowance enhanced by 5,000 shillings. We expect it to go up to 25,000 in subsequent CBS. And also the nursing service allowance to go to 30,000 in subsequent CBS.
At the same time, Medical Services PS Harry Kimtai assured that the government is committed to implement the agreement.
I want to assure the union that as agreed in this collective bargaining agreement, we shall endeavor to deliver on our part as a government. Our request, therefore, is to the union to urge their members to continue dedicating themselves to delivery of service at this very critical juncture where we are implementing universal healthcare coverage. We want to call upon all the health workers to collaborate and work closely with the government.
Police in Kisumu County are investigating an incident where a 41-year-old man hanged himself at his mother's house in Nyakach. Upper Nyakach Area Deputy Commissioner Dawin Orina says they are yet to establish the deceased motive, but they suspect he committed suicide after a domestic dispute.
Tunasikitika sana kwa kifo ya huyu mzee ambaye ni Robert Onyango, na ningependa wawe wavumilivu serikali inapoendelea kufanya uchunguzi. Pia watu wasije wakajitoa uhai, kwa sababu kujitoa uhai ni kinyume na sheria kwa katiba ya Kenya. So watu watafute ushauri, watu wasije wakajinyonga, watu walinde katiba.
In Bangladesh, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, a long-time political foe of the country's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, has been named the country's interim leader. The 84-year-old was appointed a day after Hasina fled the country following weeks of deadly protests calling for her resignation. While Yunus has been lauded for his pioneering use of microloans, Hasina regarded him as a public enemy. Yunus is currently on bail, appealing a 6-month jail term in what he's described as politically motivated case. Students who led the massive protests that unseated Hasina refused to accept a military-led government and pushed for him to lead the interim administration. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Lunga Lunga Road is busy because everybody's heading in towards to work in industrial area. And then we also see that it's busy on Jogoo Road heading towards town. Landis Road is busy. As you approach Bunyala roundabout, it's quite busy on Douglas Wakaihuri Road, and then Uhuru Highway into town is busy. Kenyatta Avenue is busy from Serena coming towards Nyayo House roundabout. Muranga Road is busy towards the Globe Cinema roundabout. Wangari Maathai Road is busy as you come into the Forest Road interchange or Forest Road overpass. It's busy. I don't know what's causing that one there. We see Limuru Road actually looking pretty clear now, but as you get to Muthaiga, it starts building up around the area where they're doing construction. Thika Superhighway stretches to Survey, coming towards town. Kiambu Road is beginning at Muthaiga, heading towards town. We saw earlier that Westlands Road was very, very busy, and James Kishoro Road was very busy. They are still quite busy. So is the Link Road with James Kishoro, Westlands, and Wayaki Way and Red Hill Road. So those ones are quite busy. Langata Road is not so bad for now. It's looking a bit better, and so is Ngong Road heading towards town, apart from the lights and the roundabouts.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
7 after 9, on to the final hour of The Situation Room this morning. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is still our guest here. NCT, just to remind, how much do you need to go for a comprehensive medical checkup at the Aga Khan University Hospital or its clinics?
Kenyan shillings, 9,950. Let me just simplify it. Kenyan shillings, 10,000. Remove 50 bob for fair.
Only
9,950. That's it.
Yeah.
You get comprehensive
medical checkup. That's it.
Comprehensive.
Okay, let me underline it in red, circle it in green. Comprehensive.
But 10,000 will be what you'll pay for just one test.
No, here they've decided.
There are tests that they have done which are 18,000, which are 10,000.
Yes. You see what happens, I think. By the time the Aga Khan University Hospital is coming up with this, I am certain that they've done their maths.
Okay.
They have figured it out and they've said, look, we have the facilities, we have the facility. Remember,
it could also be an aspect of corporate social responsibility.
Yes, it could, because you see there is a need for a certain service. So what you do is you get the number crunchers, okay? The actuaries tell them, do this maths for us and tell us, what do we need to actually provide this service? Something that will be affordable and which will actually provide the service that is required.
Correct.
Yes. Also remember, it's a checkup. It's mostly a checkup. It's like when you take your car for service, and first they do a checkup
before they charge you for it.
So they're checking, are the wheels wobbling? That tells you there's something wrong with that system. The tie rod ends, the bush, the rack ends, the tie itself. They can tell.
That becomes a poor analogy, Latiff.
So they're doing all those
things. Poor analogy.
So what they do, they're checking your blood pressure.
In the health.
They will not take you to MRI. It is that. MRI now is a secondary.
Yeah, I know that.
It is because
something detected a few
something
things.
has been detected. Wamekushek na mani wakaona hiyo thyroid zimeisha. Acha tuone kama ni thyroid.
Actually, you see, a wellness checkup tells you the state of your health and also advises you on what to do next. Okay, because even when you go through some of the more comprehensive tests that require some very high-tech technology, after you've gone through it, you are then told what you then need to do.
But that is an important first step.
You really need that step because it is a very important pointer as to what ought to be done. Yes.
Now, after giving Haman 2 Maragoli proverbs,
yes,
please remind us the African proverb and let's hear his interpretation.
Yes. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead. Herman, how would you interpret this one?
Yeah. It's true. Don't laugh at others because they have misfortunes. How sure are you yourself will not get the misfortune?
How sure are you that you're immune?
Yeah, you are immune
to misfortunes.
Yeah. And don't actually the bigger message there is, when people don't get into trouble, they don't always get into trouble because they are either reckless or stupid. So that may make you think you are clever. No. Oftentimes people get into trouble because of reasons beyond their control. And so it calls for empathy. That proverb calls for empathy. Yeah.
Now, Herman, one of the things that resulted from the Gen Z protests was the disbandment of the cabinet. So the president dissolved his cabinet. He said, I have dissolved the cabinet. Everybody go home, save for Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. And then a few days later, he nominated the first batch of 10, and then thereafter he nominated the others. The reaction from the public has been varied. There have been those who have said, no, surely, this whole thing is a sham. There are those that have said, well, yeah, some of these guys who have even been brought back, they performed well, and it's okay, they deserve to be there. The new names that have come in there, they sound like they are good, and maybe we need to give them a chance. The Parliamentary Committee is due to hand over its report to Parliament. It's expected to do that today, and then MPs will vote on this. But what is your vote? From the moment the President announced the first 10, and then announced again the second 10, and the final 2, what did you make of it?
You know, a vote presupposes they are candidates. So as far as I'm concerned, and from where I sit or stand, there are no candidates. So how do I take a vote on non-existent candidates?
What do you mean?
You see, the whole thing must go back to the dissolution of cabinet. Because I'm one of the people who are on the far front of asking the president to do that. I'm not saying he did because of me, but I'm on record. I even did an open letter to him in my YouTube channel. And the reason why people dissolve cabinets at the times of crisis is to achieve something. It's always a very important step governments take at the point of crisis or instability. You dissolve. You want to send a message. That's why you do so. You are not dissolving cabinet because these guys are not performing. No. You are dissolving cabinet as a way of buying back the public you have lost. Okay? So it's a no-brainer that the confidence in the president is at its lowest, if any. People don't believe the president. People don't trust him. That is as bad as it can get for any government. So by dissolving cabinet, you are sending a message of hope. First, I have listened to you, I care, and I am prepared to change things. So when you come back with the same sort of people, then how can you ask me that there is a cabinet? There's no cabinet to talk about.
But even as you make nominations of that nature, there are utterances in the public domain. Say, Kwani, what is it that these people want? I have dissolved parliament.
Yes.
I'm sorry, not parliament.
Cabinet.
But it was a nice Freudian slip. Okay? Yes. I have dissolved the cabinet. I have done this. I have done this. Exasperation. I have done so much. Is it an understanding that what they have done, in their opinion, is much? Yes, that is the opinion. It is a lot. But is it enough?
It's not a question of, I started by saying, it's not a question of their competences.
Yes.
At that point when you are dissolving cabinet, it's not about them performing or not performing. It's not about looking at who between those who are there did better. No. It is a movement to assuage the public. It is the movement to show the public that you feel them, you understand. Okay?
Yes.
And you want to take action. You want to change. It's not going to be business as usual from now onwards. That is what it means to dissolve cabinet. Some kind of shock therapy. You get it?
Yes.
So then it ceases to be that the moment you return them back. You cannot return them back.
In fact, it is
not in our circumstances. The circumstances under which cabinet was dissolved, would rule out completely returning even one of them back to cabinet, irrespective of how good they were. But in any case, I am not seeing anybody competent in that cabinet.
Even the new trend.
There may be one or two people who you could give a chance to, one or two people. But the circumstances under which they have entered cabinet, when public confidence is at its lowest, when public has no trust in government, what assurance do I have my friend Opio and I will perform under those circumstances? But because public confidence is very important in public affairs. You get it? You require public confidence for you to deliver. So if the public doesn't have confidence in you, secondly, how sure am I that the president will give these guys room to perform? Let's just isolate one.
Okay.
How sure are you it is Mbadi who will be running the treasury?
Why?
If you ask me, I will say I don't see it happening.
Are you saying Njuguna Ndung'u was not running the treasury?
He wasn't.
Who was?
Some people would be running. So you'll find out. Homework. I'm a teacher. I give homework. Nafanya hii homework. Wakati watu walikuwa wanafanya budget treasury wakati ya Uhuru. Wewe nafikiri walikuwa wanafanyia budget hapo treasury? So I can't see how Mbadi can influence policy at the treasury. How can he? I can't see it. How?
The fact that you can't see it doesn't mean you can't, does it?
He will not. We understand this country, my friend. Oh, we know this country.
So then
but let him surprise us.
So it didn't matter whether the president had brought a whole new batch of 22 new members to his cabinet.
Now that we know, we are now mixing two things.
We would not be sure whether those other external forces
let's
would
not
still
mix
be
two
running.
things. We are mixing two things. One is we are now talking about capacity. We had moved from the dissolution as a political move. We have now come to the technical aspect of capacity. Then I'm doubting whether any of them has capacity.
They have the capacity.
And even for the few who have, whether under the arrangement they are in, like those ODM people, they can actually perform. Now, when it comes to a new set of cabinet, it was going to achieve a political purpose. Okay? To convince the country that the president is serious. As to whether they would in the end perform or not, that will be another story. Because for you to perform, you must be given what is required for you to perform. In fact, from the word go, you must see the appointing authority as serious, as wanting you to work and perform. But many people are given assignments, and from the word go, you know, nobody intends that you perform anything. We kula mshahara, chukua allowances, na uende nyumbani.
Safiri.
Umeona watu wameenda EACC kama kina PLO. Wanafika huko wanajaribu kujifanya ati we want MPs, vet them, sijui wale wame false mileage. Wanamwambia we didn't bring you here to work. Go home. That plays it out in many of these other places. That you are appointed not to work. So those are the things we must now change.
So then, that means that on that one score, you, in your opinion, the president missed the mark.
Missed it by a wide margin. He needed to make the political score. Then these others, other issues he can deal with.
There's an argument, Manyora, that he actually made the political score.
He didn't. How?
That by this so-called broad-based government, by bringing the one person that he knows who has the capacity to snap a finger like this and mobilize, by having him pacified, and the political party that he leads also, sitting and they're making noise, but there's nothing much they can do. He has scored. And that's why he's now going around the country. He was at the coast. Now today he's going to central Mount Kenya. He has been there before. He's traveling around the country. And when he goes to that part of the country, people are welcoming and cheering him. I was asking this question the other day. Do you think this, pushback, the president missed the point, the president is tone deaf, the president... Do you think it's just an elitist conversation, an urban elitist conversation?
Sometimes, yes.
But in rural Kenya, people actually they're looking at these guys and they think, well, yeah, it's fine.
Let's start with scoring. And because CT Muga is a teacher, comes from the community where people sleep and eat football. Let's talk about scoring. City Muga may not be as old as I am, but he must have been there when we had a man called Lidonde. Not the original Lidonde. The one who used to be told like akipewa penalty goalkeeper anasema
anaondoka.
Yes.
Not that one.
Anatoboa net.
Tony Lidonde, you know him?
Yes.
Not Elijah.
Yeah. FC and later, before that, later, I think Abaluya. He played with Abaluya briefly, I think, but mainly FC.
Abaluya Football Club.
If he was not fielded, girls will kill the club manager, or you call them coaches. I'm not a football fan. And then it got to a point where when AFC is not scoring and is losing, he's anapelekwa ndani, like pretty much like Roger Miller.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Popular crowd demand. And somehow they would score. Somehow they would change things. Roger Miller, remember? And then Tony Lidonde.
In fact, in Miller's case, it is the president.
Yes, who says, put that man down.
Miller was 40 years old at that time. Yes.
But it gets to a point, even that Roger Miller or Tony Lidonde, he can't even carry his weight. So it won't make a difference. That's why people like Raila are. Not by virtue of age, but the way they have played the game, they have come out badly.
Have they always come out badly, or is it now?
Now, you know, they have survived the game for a while, but it has gotten to a point where they won't add much value. So if you are thinking by bringing Raila on board, you are safe. Then you are also have very bad news for you. It won't work for you. In fact, people just laugh at it. I was conducting some business in Kisumu last weekend, and take it from me,
there's disquiet.
Not many people are convinced Raila has taken the right.
I want to ask you again.
Not many.
The direct question, Herman,
yes,
is this disquiet, is it popular?
Popular to mean that there are many people who are not happy?
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
Is it that a majority are not happy? Or
let us separate two things.
There are many people who are not happy.
Let us separate two things.
But a majority are silent, but they're happy. They're okay with
either way. Let us separate two things. Genuine concern that we are not doing well, leading to unhappiness and even anger. And voting perhaps as a result of the same. These two things are different. But if the concern, the unhappiness, the anger were to decide the voting, Ruto and Raila on one ticket cannot get 30% of Kenyan votes. So that's the mood in the country. It's that bad. However, when it comes to voting, other factors come into play. So we are aware of that. But if you are asking me whether Kenyans are genuinely unhappy or happy, the simple answer from the villages of this country, including where the president comes from, including where Raila comes from. Yesterday on television, I don't know which station, I rarely watch TV, there were boys moving in Kapsabet with those famous mipini, what do we call them in English, the long batons, those rungus, the ones for the djembe. They have become a uniform. They were in Eldoret, Kapsabet, Kakamega, and I think somewhere else. But there were people, more than them, condemning that and ready to fight them. You get it?
Yes.
Yet this is where the president comes from. They may have been talking about the governor. The same was in Kericho. You would have been surprised, I'm sure you must have been surprised at the reception of the Gen Z thing in Kericho, places like Kericho and Eldoret. And I took time to look at the crowds in Eldoret. Because one will be easy to dismiss that those people demonstrating in Eldoret during the Gen Z revolution were not the president's people.
Because
it was not true.
Because Eldoret is cosmopolitan.
Yeah, that's what people say. Maybe they were Kikuyus, they were Lus, they were not. The overwhelming number of the demonstrators were young men and women from that community. So you get it. That should lead you to conclude, Eric, that people are not happy with what people can see things are not right.
Okay.
As to whether they can use that anger in 2027
to drive change,
that is a different story. Because we live in this country and we know people can be very rational. Someone like Muga here can speak very good English and come up with very good discourse about this country. But when he retires into that booth, he becomes a Luo.
My voting patterns have nothing to do with my education.
Yeah, you see?
Absolutely nothing.
That's where the problem now is.
You go to your blood.
But now, that's now the danger. You see, the danger now is CT.
Yes.
That because left on the dictates of democracy that will result into an election, people may not necessarily get change. This is now how I would advise the government. This is how people, opportunists, can take advantage of the situation for their own, towards their own end. People who know if they were to face Ruto and perhaps Raila, they may not succeed. You know, they can harness this revolution to their end. And that's why sometimes we have already said here that some of these revolutions end up producing nothing in terms of leadership and therefore bringing no desirable change.
I want to take you back to the end of the era of the Moi government after the president then had handed over power to Kibaki.
Yes.
And was driving out of Uhuru Park and people threw mud at him.
I was right there.
You were there?
When history was being made, I was there.
Yes, exactly. Now, in the time when Moi was the president, I don't think anyone would have dared even conjure the thought that they would throw anything at his.
But they did it that time.
On that particular day, they did.
Yes.
Because they knew he was no longer in power.
Yes.
In my mind, it is instructive. It's instructive in this sense. There were people who are tired of that government.
Yes.
And probably the numbers were many, because if you look at the crowd that was there that day, it also told you a story.
Yes.
Okay? Numbers that people could say had never been seen before.
Yes.
Now, when we hear, when we read, when we see people, predominantly young, youthful people coming out, and the message seems to be the same.
Yes.
It's a manifestation of the same. The only difference is that this president is still in power. He has not left.
Yes.
So nothing is being done upon his departure. Let me go back to the question I asked. In full view of the entire world, with an intelligence service that informs you in greater details about these things, yet we see the questions Eric and his two compadres asked when they went for the interview. What is it that makes people, because it's not now one person, miss all this? You're seeing it. It is clear. Things that you never thought would happen, they're happening. We're not accustomed to presidents being told off in public. We are seeing it. We're not accustomed to presidents being booed in public. You're seeing it. Because there was a build-up. Yes. It didn't happen. There was all this build-up. You happen to be in power, conjoining powers, you still don't see it. That really is what bothers me.
No, it shouldn't bother you. Look, you can explain it. First, power, we have said here, can completely confuse many people. It takes a very strong character to handle power or success. You've seen people running across the field, Boston Marathon, they make millions, and these dollars destroy them. Handling money. Handling success is not easy. So you can explain it by way of just what power would do to an individual. Secondly, when people are fighting to get to power, they are supported by people. The people who support people to become presidents or prime ministers don't do it because they love them. They do it because they have interest to pursue. And they can also leverage on their power to ensure you deliver on what you promised. It's not like you can get there and forget. If they want business, if they are the ones bringing Adani to do the airport, you can't deny them. And they have the dollar. So that's another reason. Another reason is the simple one of looking at the next election. And therefore, there are those things you can do and those you must avoid if you are going to win the next election. But the bigger problem, like I've said this morning, we live at times when there are powerful forces across the world, domiciled in Europe and America especially, bit of it even in China, out to dominate the world, out to recolonize the world, out to destroy the world in the way we know it today. And even people with experiments on human beings. You know, they are powerful people. We don't need to mention them. They'll come and sue KTN, Standard Group, and you know the things they are doing, including things like GMO and in the health sector, all manner of things. Sometimes you have had their support to gate power. Sometimes, and I'm not talking about Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto, or Jomo Kenyatta, or Kibaki, or Moi. I'm just talking, and I'm not even talking about Kenya. Sometimes it's good to have a powerful man in charge of a country.
What powerful means?
Where powerful means he can stand on his own. A man who requires little support from outside to win an election. A man who has an organic support of the people. Such a man these forces may find it a little harder to manipulate. But when you have people ascending to power because of the support of these forces, I want to call them evil forces, I think then the country is in trouble. He has to play ball. First, to ensure he remains in power. 2, to get re-elected. But 3, even to be safe. There are some people you don't double cross. You know
Let's
that.
take a break. 28 minutes to 10. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is our guest this morning. We are looking at the goings on in the country. The CS vetting. We expect the parliamentary committee to table its report today. Tomorrow is Nane Nane. The youth have said they want to come out again onto the streets tomorrow. Nane Nane, another round of demonstrations. How safe are they? What are the security measures? The acting IG of police says we are prepared. If they are peaceful, there will be peace. If there are any elements that are not peaceful, we will deal with them accordingly. What does all this mean to the country? Keep it here. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking. I'm not pregnant. Not now.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, so it's starting to warm up in Nairobi. It's 16 degrees now and sunny. Sunny also in Mombasa, 26, in Malindi at 27, in Kakamega at 23, in Eldoret at 18. It's also sunny in Kisumu at 24, sunny in Nakuru at 17, sunny in Nyeri at 15. How is it in Kampala? It's sunny at 23, in Mogadishu sunny at 28, in Addis Ababa cloudy at 17, Dar es Salaam sunny at 26. Johannesburg is warming up, sunny at 13. Lagos, there is haze over the city at 25 degrees. Paris is mostly cloudy at 17. Kinshasa sunny at 22. Beijing sunny at 32. London partly sunny at 15. And New York, light rain continues at 22.
Spice up your life.
There's traffic in Oloitoktok. No, on Oloitoktok Road. There's traffic as you get to the Cotton Avenue interchange and Olenguroni Avenue. There's traffic there. There's traffic also on James Kishuru Road. It stretches actually all the way past the police station going towards the highway, and then the highway is busy around Muga Green, but then it clears up. How's it looking like in Ring Road, Kileleshwa? It's busy as you get, of course, near the mall roundabout. It's busy on both sides. How's it looking as you head into town from Mombasa Road? It's busy into Haile Selassie Avenue, and also it's busy from the Museum Hill interchange towards University roundabout and into Kenyatta Avenue. Busy in Ngara, busy on Thika Superhighway. Actually, this morning it's stretching all the way to the Kenya Institute of Energy Studies. That's far, near KCB grounds. It's coming all the way there, heading towards town. Kiambu Road is also very busy. Landis Road, you expect it to be busy. And Langata Road has cleared somewhat.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with Herman Manyora, who's here in the studio, political analyst. Herman, tomorrow is 8th of August. Nane, the youth have said we are back on the streets. The Acting Inspector General of Police yesterday held a press briefing and he said, we are prepared, we've made adequate arrangements to ensure safety of the protesters, safety of businesses, and safety of everybody around. It so happens that the last time there was this kind of skirmishes, the U.S. Secretary of State had a phone conversation with the president. And the statement that came out of that was that, they discussed and they said, protect the safety and guarantee the safety and security of the protesters. And of course, your laws and your constitution that allows picketing. It's good for that to happen. Coincidentally, yesterday, at the DCI headquarters, the U.S. Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights was in the country, and he was meeting with the DCI boss, Mohammed Amin. The U.S. Department of State Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, Uzra Zeya, has paid a courtesy call on the director of DCI, Mohammed Amin, in his office at the DCI headquarters. He was accompanied by the U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, and they encouraged the DCI to continue sustaining the fight against corruption to ensure provision of services in strict observance to human rights and the rule of law for a safe and secure society. Amin registered appreciation to the U.S. government through its embassy for the support being given to DCI through various partnerships, including support for investigations and prosecution of cases of gender-based violence, of course, everything else apart from demonstrations and the current goings on. That is what the DCI, of course, reported. But I'd expect that they discussed, response, maybe concerns being raised that units coming out of DCI are involved in abductions. This person is responsible for civilian security, human rights, democracy.
Americans know how to play their game. First, they know what is going on in the world. They could not even have been surprised with what happened in Bangladesh, and they are never surprised. They know what's going on. So you can read this whichever way you want. One, they could be genuine and be advising government. Looking at what's going on around the world, the approach you are using will make situations worse. For every one person you kill, you bring into the movement tens of thousands who would not have been there. You create more anger. For every one abduction, and with the social media and the way these things are profiled in the media, you bring into the movement, into this anger movement, tens and tens of thousands of people who would have had nothing to do with the demonstrations and even what's going around them. So Americans are aware of that, and they may be telling government, look here, if you continue like this, you'll create more anger than you can handle. And when it gets to a time when you have 200,000 people marching in Nairobi streets, it will be the end of you. They could be sharing this information genuinely.
Do you read something? When at the height of the demonstrations,
yes,
and this is coming after the state visit by the president, and then the kind of media coverage that, this is a president who had a state visit, had been accorded this honor, first time for an African president in 15 years, and this and the other. So Americans have been supporting him, and now there's a popular uprising against his administration. Secretary of State calls, and it's made public that they discussed the issue of, security. Cabinet vetting begins. The U.S. Embassy in Nairobi releases a statement and says, as the vetting begins, we encourage Parliament to ensure that the issue of integrity is primary as they are vetting. And then now, the Under-Secretary in charge of human rights, democracy, civilian security is in the country ahead of Nane and meeting with police bosses. Do you read?
That's what I'm saying. I was saying there are two ways, according, and maybe more, but for me, two. One is genuine to help a friend. Look here. Look at integrity when vetting me. Genuinely concerned. Handle the demonstrators with some respect and follow the rule of law. Follow your own constitution that allows for these demonstrations. Avoid police abductions and brutality. From a genuine friend. Okay? But you know Americans also know their game. They could be seeing where this thing is going and trying to distance themselves from the current administration. And that's why you are saying they are making these things known to the public. So that whichever way the thing goes, they say, we are your friends. At the right time, we told you, you can now see. So they will remain your friends perpetually. Because even as they were receiving the head of state from Kenya, you mean they didn't know these things were happening? The level of intelligence they have is so high. They knew there are human rights violations. They knew all these things were there. They knew corruption was there. This cabinet hasn't just happened. They were there. People were flashing millions of shillings when Ruto was in the States. Even the way the people who went with him, even the delegation alone. You mean they were blind to that? They saw that. So this one could be a genuine friend telling you it's getting too much. Take care. It could also be huyu sasa mimi wacha nijitenge na yeye should kama katanuka.
Pilato.
Sasa yo mimi me have nothing to do with this guy. And that's why I think we need to look for the bottom line. We are our own keepers and minders. We don't need America to come and tell us how to behave well. We must learn to behave well. You don't need your neighbor to tell you to feed your children, do you? How do you get to a point where your neighbors must come to tell you, the way we see these children, they have not eaten. So we cannot allow situations where foreigners like Americans will be the ones to tell us not to kill our children in the streets, not to abduct people, but not to vet and pass nominees who are tainted with corruption. We should do it ourselves. This is just bad manners which we must abandon.
You see, the Americans do it because those in their country who are in political leadership are held to account by the electorate. And they know it.
They know it.
You will not get away with it.
Yes.
Because
that's them.
That's them. The question will be, why are you supporting this person? And they have this record. Questions will be asked.
Correct.
So when they come visiting, and they make it public. How many times do visitors come in and we don't know they have come?
Yes.
We might know they have gone. But this one is being made public.
Public, yes.
So this is deliberate.
Even for their own consumption of their own people.
Yes, this is what we have done. This is where we have gone.
Yes.
So please, and it's in bright light so that you are flashing light. So
even with an election around the corner.
Yes, exactly.
How do we trust you? You can take care of America in terms of democracy, human rights, when you are supporting people elsewhere.
Yes.
It's always featuring in American elections.
A leadership such as the one we have is titled very well by the West. They understand it and they have names for it.
Yes.
Okay? You know, you mentioned Bangladesh. If you read what was in social media and what was being said, it is also said that these same Americans spoke to the Prime Minister and said, Madam, this thing, wewe, toka. Because it is said she was not listening to anybody. She was telling the police, hammer these guys more. She was telling her special unit, hammer. The military said, no, this we're not going to do. This one we're not going to do. Remember, it is said also that the leader of the military, the head of the military, is married to her cousin. Okay. So all I'm saying is, with all these things happening, and you are a superpower, and the only way you prove you're a superpower is because your sphere of influence is broad. Yes. And when you move in a certain direction, you're listened to. Now, this is where I want to make my point. The Americans know how to look after their interest.
Correct.
Why is it that we can look after our interest?
That's the question I'm saying. Why do we need a foreigner to tell us how to behave?
We know what we need. We know what we need.
You know, I like Kenya because our problems are very simple, very minor. It is just bad manners. I'm telling you, if we stop bad manners in this country, if our politicians stop behaving badly, you keep talking of South Korea, you talk of Singapore, those will be children before us. We will be soaring in the skies because we have everything for takeoff. The conditions for takeoff have always existed in this country. You can't say that of many countries.
No.
So it's just bad manners. It's just doing what we have been discussing the whole morning today. Why can't these people do the simple things they are being asked to do? What is so difficult in doing these small things? There's nothing difficult.
There's something called a competing interest.
Yes.
Because on the one hand, when you hear our political leadership speaking,
yes,
many a time they're very convincing. You feel, okay, this time we're going to see something. But what they don't talk about is what the other competing interest is. And the competing interest is to get rich very quickly.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, that cuts across and goes against the grain of anything that may actually genuinely help the citizenry and may actually take care of those of our population, those of our citizenry who actually need that help.
Until such a time money ceases to be what it is in this country, there will be no progress.
True.
Because money is a focal point. Everything rotates around money. Eric Latiff may be a very smart young man, speaks good English, seems to have ideas. But when he leaves the studio and boards a matatu, nobody will listen to him. They want to see the sort of animal you are driving and the home you are going to park that animal. you know, then people can listen to you. So until we get to a point where we know money is a medium of whatever you call it, for exchange,
Yes, it's a medium it is a medium of exchange.
That's what just it is. To give you what you need.
Yes.
It has no other value. So we are giving money value doesn't have. So if we don't get beyond money in this country, we will never get quality leadership. We'll never get anything. So we must handle the issue of money. And if I was the president, I will have a clear program of doing that. First of all, people steal in this country and people need money, not just because it gives them social status, because also it is sometimes necessity. Corruption is an industry, which if you close today, many of these things will close. These high-cost schools will close, all of them, if you are able to strangle corruption and theft. These shule kubwa zitafungwa, these nice clubs where people buy a soda at 5, zitafungwa zote. These big vehicles, the people selling these big vehicles, they will have nobody to sell to because this is an industry. But it also comes because there is need for that money. So a good president will have to go a good party seeking power would have to go in the way of a welfare state. A welfare state then means there will be free quality education. There will be free quality healthcare. Free. You just, akuna shifu, akuna NH, akuna, you just go in. You are a Kenyan. That's all that's required. And you are treated, you get the best treatment, you go home. If you are admitted, free, you leave. Nobody asks you for any shilling. And then there will be policies on health, on housing, that will make Kenyans live in decent houses, affordably. There will be policy on transport, so that those welfare aspects, once you cater for those as a country, the need to steal money begins to go down. You see, the ordinary men and women who do ordinary stealing will find it unnecessary, because they are squeezed into corners from where if you offered I know you must have read No Longer at Ease.
I did.
When Obi Okongo now is faced with the worst, this girl must have procured an abortion and it cost money and he had nothing. He had to take a bribe. You get that? Sometimes those situations arise. And therefore you must close those avenues by making Kenya a welfare state. It's not difficult to provide free education and free health care, because all you need to do is stop corruption, stop theft of public funds. And there's enough money to do that. So it will affect everything else. And until you deal with what money means to Kenyans, and of course there will be other issues you will take. For example, the country must go completely electronic. There should be nowhere where people are doing cash transactions. We live in a country where you can buy my house, Muga, and give me cash, 400 million. I wish I had such a house, by the way. You know, if you came to buy my house, I escorted a guy. I was a friend of mine. He wanted to sell a house in Budaiga. All buyers, and some of them were governments wanting to buy as embassies. All buyers wanted to deal in nothing but cash. Cash.
So that amount of money, you do need a pickup or something, don't you?
So, you come in dollars. They say in dollars.
Or if it's in dollars, then the boot of your big car can suffice.
So, that tells you one way of taming theft and corruption in the country is to put systems so that there is nothing you can buy in this country and transfer to your name. If the money for buying does not come from the bank and it does not reflect at Times Towers. So you buy my car, at the point of transfer, the money you pay me must be electronically paid with my PIN and your PIN. And that transaction reflects at the taxman's office at where? Times Tower. These are the small things we can do to deal with this theft. But the people in charge benefit from the theft, so they cannot put those measures in place. But a host of them are also not with the capacity to think in that direction. Yeah.
You know, what you just said, must look for somebody who actually understands this and who comes from a country where they've done these things, and so that we know how it has worked. But it does.
It does, yeah.
It's like how automation works, where you reduce and you minimize the point of extinguishing the human participation in that process.
Yes.
Apart from probably switching a button and doing this. Yes. You see, you are right when you say that so long as fundamental services are unavailable to people, and so long as people have to struggle to pay for things which are fundamental, like education, like healthcare,
housing, and so on.
Yes. What you've then done is you've opened the door for corruption to thrive.
So you must deal with that first.
Yes. You're right.
Before you tell people to stop stealing.
Yes.
You must make life livable and bearable.
Yes. So, so this great need to steal will not be there.
So if I was at Treasury, for example, and I'm body, within 6 months I'll come up with measures that will reduce corruption by significant margins. I'll make it very difficult for people to transact certain businesses. I'll work with the DCI. In fact, DCI has a problem fighting crime because when people steal money, they just go and spend it.
Yes.
In other jurisdiction, utapatikana kwanza in the way you are spending. Unaenda kununua gari na cash. Watu wanakuzia gari wamepigia DCI simu.
Ati kuna mtu amekuja hapa na cash.
You be having something against this guy here. This guy is coming with $200,000.
But Herman, there are many regulations that try to contain that, to control that.
Not the regulation in the manner in which you are saying.
Because
regulation if you went, a technical manner.
If you went to, let's say, you came and I bought you a vehicle and, or a house, like you're saying, and you give me 30 million shillings in cash.
Yes.
I'd have to have very many long explanations when I'm going to try and deposit that money.
Which explanations?
The bank will ask me, so what's the source of this? Letter documentation.
The
source of 30 million shillings and all these things.
That is a joke.
See? So what else would you do?
That is a joke. It must be electronically controlled.
What is that?
The payment you received must be electronic.
You're saying abolish cash transactions?
Yes.
Boss.
If I'm buying your car at 3 million, I know the cars you drive, the one you want to dispose of on account of age will be 3-4 million. I shouldn't go to my pocket and pay you. It's my bank paying your bank, and your PIN is there, my PIN is there. That transaction reflects at DCI for purposes of crime. There's a desk there. That transaction reflects at KRA for purposes of tax, and so on and so forth. That even helps us to fight crime and minimize theft. Because money you have stolen.
So what are you saying?
If you steal 30 million, if you steal 5 million,
those regulations are already there.
If you steal 5 million today, where you work, and you want to buy a car, there's nothing to stop you because you'll bring it to me. I give you my car.
Yes, but then you will need to deposit it.
Who says I must deposit?
Okay.
I'll also go and buy a piece of land in Luombe where I come from.
There you go.
Cash.
And in cash.
There you
So,
go. You see, Herman,
the
laws are there. But as long as you and I are okay with it.
You are missing
because
you are
the one
missing
who will
the
accept
point.
to take.
You are missing the point. I don't want to depend on the goodwill of human beings. I'm just giving you a simple illustration. You are selling your car at 3 million. I want to buy it. I must pay the money by cash.
Or
money
else
by
what?
electronical to you.
Or else what? That is already there.
Or else I don't buy.
And I'm telling
but today
you,
I can pay it by cash.
Herman,
yes,
it's there. By saying that you must explain if you deposit anything
Who
more
tells
than
you I must display?
The law.
The law doesn't.
You must explain.
Does
when
the
you
law
pay.
stop you from having money under your mattress?
No, it doesn't.
Muga, does it?
But it says when you're going to transact in a bank,
yes,
anything above 10,000 USD.
Now they have increased to about 20,000.
They increased
about 15,000.
15,000 USD.
It's about 2.2 million shillings now. Yeah.
You must explain.
Yes.
You see, that is now trying to deal with it at that end.
Yes.
But you and I, if you accepted to take cash from me, and I'm the one who's dealing this, and I'm giving you cash. It doesn't matter what kind of law you put in place.
But I want to
make it must
I'm
be
saying there should be no situations allowing me to buy cash.
So you're banning cash?
Then I won't transfer the car. You get what I'm saying? Transferring the car or the house should be impossible if I paid cash. I must have paid through the bank.
It'll always
and
be.
the questions, now those questions will be important.
Yeah.
You get it? That's just one. And there will be a host of others. And because we are not thinking here, here we're just picking on top of our head.
Yeah.
If we give people to think on a table, to lay an infrastructure, to make that possible, a technical infrastructure. Like Kidero came to power in City Hall. Is that, you remember?
I recall.
When Kidero came to power in 2013, City Hall, when he became governor.
Yes.
He just put a few measures in place and people were surprised the kind of money that we were able to collect in a day at City Hall. Do you remember that? Yeah. So those are some of the things I'm saying. A simple measure of digitally collecting revenue at City Hall by Kidero. Brought in money here has not been surpassed up to now.
You know the point that Eric is making, and which is valid, is that, yes, the human element in all these systems, unless we can find a way of completely curbing it, will always run interference, because people who understand systems will even craft it to suit their benefit, or to suit their purposes rather than benefits. So, as you say, there are people who are competent to look at all these things that we're discussing and more,
put things in place
and say, no, okay.
But it can't work in isolation. We must have a functional judiciary, which will deal with violators expeditiously.
Are you suggesting we don't have one?
I have some little reservation, but
little.
You can find yourself before those men and women, so we can only whisper. They are human beings after all. Manyola ndio yule anasemanga there's no judiciary.
Umekuja leo.
Amejileta. Tena wanaambiana wakitoka huko ndani ya chamber. As they are coming in those gowns.
Amekuja.
Huyu ni yule Manyola. Ndio huyu.
So let's just whisper.
Herman, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you too.
And for this conversation. Thank you for tuning in to the biggest conversation in the country from wherever you are. Again, a message to those in Lebanon. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says, please, you need to evacuate. They are providing that assistance. Those in the UK, the embassy in the UK has said, all right, please register. Please be safe. Please follow what you're being told. And we wish you all the best. We want to see peace in the UK. Kenyans are concerned about the goings on. The UK.
Na tutume salamu. Waluya wamesema ni wasalamia. Salamu ni nusu ya kuonana. Kwa hivyo Angela amepata salamu na ni nusu ya kuonana.
Very good. Wote wasalimiwe. Have a lovely day. Tomorrow is 9/9. We pray for peace and peaceful.
Don't keep talking of 9/9 as if it's something we want to look forward to.
No.
I would rather as a media house
people are looking forward to it.
Say 9/9 should be avoided by those in leadership doing the sort of things they need to do to avoid situations like those. That's how we end this show.
Okay.
And thank you.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The Central Bank